Why is my chat keep being disabled? I don't know what's going on with that. Okay. Peace and shalom, family. What's going on? Why is the quality looking like that? Okay, there we go. Clear it up. Something that's going live right now. Okay. All right. What's going on, family? What's going on? Let me do this. All right. So shalom, Sister E, Renzo, Robertson, Gatrell McKinney, bro Benny Yasharala, Pieces of Me, brother Chris, Hosea Yah Ben Yahawada. What's going on, y'all? What's going on? You can go ahead and share this link. Let me go ahead and share it real quick before I go live. All right. And if somebody knows who Ryan Shields is, please invite him to the show so we can get him saved. All right. So y'all do that for me. All right. If y'all can find him. Those of you who was in the previous live stream on Inside the Nation, shout out to Inside the Nation. I appreciate that, my brother Abiyah, for the invite. Look forward to going back to the brother's show sometime soon. Shout out to Israel, J Lockhart 25, Yashab Awam, Mrs. Royal. What's going on, family? Pieces of Me. What's up? What's up? Thank you for joining in. I appreciate that. Again, make sure you share this link. I was gonna go live earlier, but I was on another show. So because of that, I was not live. All right. Hold on. Let's do this. All right. All right. Shout out to Dashboy 007 in the building. All right, y'all. So go ahead and share this link. I'm about to share it in a few more places and we'll get started. Let's see. Let me share it. Let me do this. All right, give me a second. I'm just trying to share. All right. Okay. Shout out to Terrence McWilliams in the building. What's going on? Brother JT showed up. Oh, okay. Yeah, Renzo, Sister E put me on to that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see all of it. Shout out to Kendrick Black in the building. So I didn't see all of it. I saw maybe about 5 minutes of it, 7 minutes of it, because I was out and about when it was going down. And I came home and I was preparing to jump on it, but he had already ended the stream. And the brother Abiyah was already on his Inside the Nation stream. So I just jumped onto that. You know what I'm saying? Shalom to Don Terry in the building. All right. So, yeah, I want to give a shout out. Good looking to all of y'all that gave me feedback on that show, that Halloween special. Man, y'all love that. I got so many inbox messages about that, email. Shout out to my sister, Shanti in the building, 916, Sean. I got a lot of messages on that, inbox messages, email messages, people saying, man, we enjoyed the show. And, they wanted me to do more shows like that. I'm not sure what specifically was. I don't know what specifically was like so great about it, but those shows are for y'all's, not necessarily for me, and I pretty much just want to give y'all enough information to at least start the dialogue and have the dialogue and be able to have the discussion. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want it to be too superficial. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I wanted to keep it real. I wanted to touch on some things that I know that, is not really being touched on, discussed in our community. But I wanted to definitely share that with y'all. So I'm glad y'all enjoyed that. I appreciate y'all for giving your feedback. Shout out to my brother Inside the Nation is in the building. Click on his avatar. You'll go over there and hit subscribe. All right. Hit subscribe to the brother's channel. I'm surprised I don't see G-Con in here, but brother JT, do you want to get on the panel? If you want to get on the panel, I want you on the panel. Because you've been trying to evangelize for some time now. I don't know which brother Jay you are. There's a lot of brother Jays out there. All right, I had a discussion with brother Jay earlier this week, and he told me that you are not the real brother Jay. All right. But anyway, if you definitely want to get in, let me know. Shout out to my brother Henry Campbell in the building. What's going on? Kyle Camaris in the building. What's up, Ak and Lady Watt? Shalom to you as well. I'm still looking for Ryan Shields. You have made a reference to Ryan Shields, brother JT. So I don't know where he's at, but whoever that guy was that you were talking about in the chat, maybe me, him is related. I don't know. But definitely bring him in here. Maybe like you said, maybe you could try to get the brother saved, all right? Because I'm sure that would be the responsible thing to do, especially for you as a Christian, right? So anyway, Renzo, definitely highlight the sister, 916 Shan. She's a beast with that. I know enough, but I'm not at her level yet. You know what I'm saying? In regards to the Greek is concerned, the Koine Greek. All right. But definitely, brother JT, if you want to join, just let me know. If you do, let me know. If you want to join, let me know. Let me send you the link. You can join in and we can have a discussion. You know what I'm saying? Also, my brother Shama Talmid Yahoo has a single out. I put your email in the chat so people can get a listen to it, or if you have it on cloud format, post that link in the chat so we could just click on it and they can stream and listen and not be able to download if you don't want them to download it yet. All right. So definitely you can go ahead and do that. There we go. All right. Go ahead and click that link right there. My admin dropped in the chat so you can check out his music. That's one of the artists that was on the KHM Mixtape Volume 1, and he will definitely be returning for Volume 2. All right. So with that being said, brother JT, are you ready to join the panel? Because there's nothing specific that I have lined up for tonight. This is just freestyling. You know what I'm saying? The Halloween one was something more specific. And I actually thought that was a pretty good show. I mean, y'all loved it. You know what I'm saying? So, if you want me to touch on any of the subject matter in there, I can. But I'm reserving this specifically for brother JT if he wants, right? Brother G-Con did a show of my discussion with the other brother J. You know what I'm saying? And, like I said, I put a version of that for the Patreon family to go see. Appreciate that, Dwayne. And for the rest of y'all can search it out on YouTube and grab it and check it out as well. So I'm just saying, like, brother JT said he's with it. All right. So brother JT, let me go ahead and give you the link. All right. Give me a second. I'm going to give you the link. And you join in, all right? I know you want to evangelize and everything. I mean, it's been attempted before. You know that because you follow this channel. So here's the link right here. So brother JT, click on that link, follow the instructions, and let's get you on, all right? Everybody else, you hit the thumbs up. If you're enjoying this so far, hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, all right? So that way we can get more availability and awareness in regards to this session. Those of you who are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share this video everywhere. Now, going forward, I will be inviting guests on the show. What I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out how to name, like what nomenclature I'm going to use for the segment for guests to come on. So it's going to be guests coming on who have expertise in certain things or who has a business in our community, or people who are well known, right? So if you have any ideas on what I should call that segment, email it to me at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. The sooner I can get that name up, the sooner that I can create a brand for it, and the sooner I can start featuring that on this channel. All right. So definitely, y'all help me out with that. So that way I can get that started. So I have a lot of people lined up. You know what I'm saying? The sister 916 Sean is one of them. My brother Yesha Moore, who's an artist. Shama Tamiyahu is another artist. I would like to get them on here. Shout out to my brother Hot Parker in the building. What's going on, man? What's going on? So I'm just waiting, man. Chris, I owe you a call, so stand by for that tomorrow on Sunday. Hopefully you got some availability, my brother. All right. So brother Jay, you got the link, man. Click the link. Let's go. Come on, let's get started. All right. So I'm waiting for you in here. You can bring all the evangelism you want. That's fine. Let's talk. All right. So I'm waiting, brother Jay. Let's go. We'll wait on you. All right. No, I got you. All right. So still waiting. Should I play the Jeopardy music while we wait for brother Jay? I don't know if that was the same brother Jay that kind of like disappeared. Shout out to Chris Bay in the building. Vanessa Satterwhite, what's going on, sis? So I don't know if that's the same brother Jay that be stalking the chat and attempting to evangelize. I don't know, but I'm waiting on brother Jay. Brother Jay, where you at? And don't be coming on here saying you're not African American, you're not black, you don't care about your ancestry or West Africa. Don't come in here with all of that, man. All right. Vince D said, you see the black label smart water. Yeah, this is the alkaline one. Hold on, let me show it to y'all. This is the alkaline version of the smart water. Now, typically, I don't like getting fortified water. I mean, water where they filter it and put it through either reverse osmosis or another kind of filtration process. And then they fortified it with electrolytes so that way it could be alkaline. I typically prefer my water for artesian springs, okay? That's naturally alkaline and that has the natural composition, trace minerals in it. But these are like the next best thing when you can't really grab artesian water. I seen it in the store. I said, all right, let me grab it, and that's what that is right there. But I'm not telling you to go buy it. If you want to go buy it, fine. But I mean, until they allow me to do affiliate marketing with smart water, somebody pointed it out. So I'm just showing y'all what it is. So just being honest with y'all, and shout out to L. Dotson in the building. Mark Moore, what's going on? Dashboy 007. Speak on the definition of the word Adam. Is it a proper name now, or is it a verb showing that the first man was cutting a blood covenant with the Most High? I don't know what that second part is, but Adam can talk about it could be a proper noun for a person, or it could be a common noun in regards to humankind or mankind. So that last one, you got to give me something more so I can hone in on that. Showing that the first man was cutting a blood covenant with the Most High. The word, we got the word for blood, dam, is there. And then, I maybe that's what you're talking about as far as dam, but you remember he was created out of the soil of the earth, and it's believed that was like a red clayish soil. And red is likened to blood. So, I mean, that's what we're going to have there. Outside the queue, what's going on, my brother? Are you letting people on the panel? Yes. I was trying to get somebody specific on the channel. I mean, on the panel, and he's not showing up, which I'm not surprised by. But if you want to come on for a few outside the cube, you can. So outside the cube is not an Israelite. He's not a Christian. He's more of a conscious individual, and see things more objectively outside the vantage point of people who have those particular ideological positions. So I don't know if you just want to jump on a panel and say what, I'm not sure. But just highlight me, let me know. So Gatrell McKinney, that's a great question. I think you should reach out to Dr. Kenneth Howard on Facebook, or you can reach out to Ron Dalton or Michael Israel of Spiritual Combat and ask them. I'm not too sure. I know I missed the deadline, so I will not be going, unfortunately. But if you are interested, reach out to any one of them. All right. So Baruch Yafa Yahoo says, hey, Divine, do you have any suggestions on a holistic regimen for someone with stage 3 ovarian cancer? Baruch, yes, I did a whole show on cancer. You can go ahead and check it out. I'll share the link for you. Use that as a guideline. If that person wants a more specialized, personalized one-on-one consultation, they can email me at naturalpathtoeden@gmail.com. All right. Or kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. You know, it's up to them. So definitely let me know. So check that video out. Matter of fact, I'll drop it in there for you. Hold on. Let me pop that in there for you. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna bring it up. Okay. All right, there it is right there. So you click onto that, check that out, see if that's enough information to help. If not, email me or have them email me for a one-on-one consultation. All right. Okay, so I'm waiting. I'm trying to Vince D, yes he is. I'm waiting on Brother Jay. He just disappeared again. Shout out to Chemo Ben Israel in the building. He typically does this, right? So I'm not really shocked or surprised. Not sure what's going on. He says, I'm trying to, man. How do I get in? I clicked the link. Well, when you click the link, there should be some simple instructions, right? So if you need help, I'm going to show you on the screen what to do, right? I'm not sure what the difficulty is, but I'm going to open up another web browser. All right. I'm going to plug in the URL that I just shared with you, and I'm going to show you live on screen how to join in. Okay. All right. So let me share my screen. Let's do that. Okay, let me plug that in here. All right. Send to live. So right here, this is Firefox, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste the link right here, right, in the URL window of your web browser, okay? You hit enter, okay? When you hit enter, it's going to ask for permission to use your camera and your mic. You hit allow, okay? This right here, this Windows security alert, you can ignore that. You can cancel to that. All right. And once you hit allow, it will bring you in. That's it. If you have a phone, it will ask for similar permissions and it'll bring you right in. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's it. So, not sure why that is so difficult. I don't know. Not sure, man. Outside the cube, you know he is, man. So I'm just waiting. Just waiting. Kyle, yes. And also there's presuppositions to leave gray areas that they're not well studying alone. Because in diving into that, it could reveal some information that may undermine their dogma, right? So they typically tend to leave that alone. So, Brother Jay, where are you at? You don't really have to do nothing. I'm not sure what happened. I'll put the link there again. Just click on the link, follow what I just showed you, and that's it. Chris, I don't know, man. He just brought up a deer. I don't know what that had to do with anything. That was really crazy. I can't call it. Don't know why he brought a deer up. I guess what he was trying to, pretty much what he's trying to say is, I was saying Leviticus chapter 1, it really outlines what the mitzvah is in regards to a olah, right? A burnt type of offering, or offering that's burnt, right, by ish or by fire. And from that text, we see it says you can source it from sheep or goats. And if it's a bird, you can source it from turtle doves or pigeons, right? So that's pretty much what that text says. We can infer that that same information is what was known to Noah at that time. And when the text says mikol, from all, and then you got your clean animals, and then your birds, etc. He's saying, I guess, I don't know. I guess he's saying like, okay, did he take a sacrifice from every one of those clean animals and then burn it as an offering? And I guess he's going to say, well, if you say yes, then hey, then that can't be, from the Torah, because the Torah gives you specific animals that they use to sacrifice. Like he was trying to do like a gotcha, right? I already knew where he was coming from. You know what I'm saying? So it did not work on me. It just made him look crazy. Like that had nothing to do with what we was talking about. Like nobody brought the deer up, and he's going to say to me, what was my question? I didn't ask a question. You asked me a question about a roebuck or a deer being sacrificed by Noah. Like, I'm like, what did that have to do with anything? That was crazy. That was really wild, man. Shout out to my brother Son of the Times TV HQ in the building. What's going on? So I don't know what's going on with that, man. Brother Jay, are you still having difficulties? Are you? Do you want my assistance with that? If you need my assistance, I'm gonna show you where to go. I need you to go to Team Viewer so I can get remote access to your PC, and I can assist you with setting up a simple 2 clicks, right? Copy, paste, and then hit allow for the permissions and jump right in. It's really less than 3 steps, right? I don't know if you're trying to sign in with your phone or your computer, but either way, if you have a phone, you can go to the Play Store if you have Android and go to QS, which is quick support for Team Viewer. Download that. And if you have a computer, go to www.teamviewer.com. Look for PC if you're on a PC, or the Mac download. You can download that. And then what that will do is that it'll run a dynamic soft application for me to remote into your PC. Only for that session. You can close it out at any time, and I can help you setting that up. I'm not sure what's going on, man. I don't know what's going on, man. I have no clue why you're still having difficulties. Is really not that serious. Nobody else had problems getting in. Now, maybe when they got in, they had mic problems, video problems, but it's really 3 steps, man. I mean, I think maybe this might be an excuse. I don't know. I'm not saying it is. It just seems like it is. And now you're gone. You disappeared. If it don't work on your computer, try it on your phone. If it don't work on your phone, try it on your computer. Don't know what else to tell you, man. I'm not sure what's going on. So shalom to In Search of Yah. What's going on? What? I don't know. Maybe he has a special affinity to deers, and he doesn't really want somebody to talk about deers or roebucks being sacrificed. Sometimes maybe he's part of PETA. I don't know. And he doesn't want to hear the thought of sacrificing a deer to the Most High. It's a sweet smelling Savior. I don't know. Maybe that's what's going on. Shout out to Nisi's Pieces in the building. What's going on, Sits? Mikhail Yisrael, what's going on? Don't know. Shout out to Lorraine I Am. What's going on? How you doing? Thank you for joining in. So I don't know what his affinity towards deer. I mean, I don't know what that was about, man. It's really puzzling because nobody brought that up. Now I can see if you're talking about swine, okay, or maybe some shellfish or something, maybe, since that was what we was talking about. But a deer, a deer, a female deer. Let me stop. I don't know what's going on. Maybe that song was playing in his children's room and it came to mind. I have no clue what's going on, man. So it was no discussion. I mean, we was on this guy, Brother Jay, if it's the same person, he comes in my chat all the time, preaching some kind of evangelism message. I don't know. I know he wants to convert me to be a Christian. He wants me to get saved and be covered by the blood of Jesus. So that's pretty much what he's going to try to do. So, I love to give my Christian brothers an opportunity to convert me over to Christianity, to plead the blood over me, to get me saved. We got to, pretty much deal with their theology. Hopefully it's systematic and hopefully they can get in depth in regards to their soteriology to see if it applies or not. Well, I don't beat up trolls, right? Trolls, they want to beat me up. So I allow them an opportunity to do that. You know what I'm saying? And outside the cube, I know you've been on my chats a few times. I don't know how much of my channel you see, but I mean, the trolls, they come for me. I don't bother nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just give them an opportunity. Let's talk. I'm not rude or disrespectful. And we sit and we build. Shout out to Kadar Scales in the building. Shalom, what's going on? Make sure you'll hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit subscribe. If you're new to this channel, hit that bell notification because we got a lot of great content coming up. I got something that I'm working on for Patreon subscribers. So shout out to all my Patreon subscribers as well. Thank y'all for your donations. Your help provide free services, debt elimination, and naturopathic health services. So 3 people who reach out to me are getting free services because of my Patreon subscribers. All right. So shout out to Reckless Animosity in the building. What's going on? Shalom to you as well. So I see the usual suspect is in here with us. Shout out to Tim Lindley in the building. What's going on? So again, Brother Jay, he disappears again. I mean, he does this all the time. I don't know what's going on, man. I have no clue. No clue. When I was speaking to the other Brother Jay, when I was on his show, I was like, yo, are you the same Brother Jay that be in my chat? He's like, nah, no, it's not me. So you sure? I'm like, yo, people, they using your name and they're going around make you look crazy, man. Like, I don't know. I'm sure you're probably not the only Brother Jay, but Stacks, don't give up the secret sauce, man. All right. Shout out to Peace GZZ in the building. What's going on, man? All right. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. Shout out to my brother Hebrews in the hood, my brother Mikhail in the building. What's going on? So, yeah. So Brother Jay is gone again, man. Y'all see him do this before in the past. As you can see, G-Con is nowhere to be found either. He knew I was going live. He's gone. Don't know what's going on with him either. I don't know, man. So, hey, outside, I'm gonna go ahead and bring you on, man. You can come on for a few as we wait for Brother Jay. I don't know what's going on. But let me go ahead and drop the link. You can definitely click on it and I'll bring you in. Don't know what's going on, man. Don't know what's going on, man. So there's the link right there. So outside the cube, you can click on to that, join in for a few. Give you a few minutes, we can chat or whatever, and then I'll just probably go into a subject matter. Brother Jay, we're waiting on you as well. Like I said, if you're having difficulty, download the Team Viewer app, QS, which is quick support on the Play Store or Apple Store, Store, or your App Store, or you can download it also by going to the link. 916 Shan, pretty much Brother Jay was like, I need to get into the New Testament so I can learn about salvation. And G-Con is talking about some doe deer, female deer. I don't know what he's talking about. I have no clue why he's bringing up a deer. I understand the point he was trying to make, but to start off by saying, did Noah sacrifice a deer? I don't know. The text is not saying that. So regardless, you'd have to infer that based on it talking about tahor, something being clean. I mean, it depends on how you want to go with that. I don't know. Chemo Ben Israel was on a channel called Inside the Nation. My brother Abiyah, he spearheads that show. O'Shea, that's crazy. So yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. He said G-Con strolling with Bambi. Yo, y'all crazy, man. Y'all savage right now. But Brother Jay, you gone, man. I gave you an opportunity to convert me over to Christianity. You had this opportunity, man. You disappeared before in the past. I don't know what's going on, man. I have no clue. There's no excuse. I'm offering to give you technical support for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on, man? I don't know. All right, so outside the cube, click the link, man. You can jump in if you want. You can jump in if you want. I don't know what's going on, man. But yo, like I said, y'all email me, kingdomharbinger@gmail.com if I can help y'all out with anything. But I do need y'all help. Please think of a very unique, catchy name for me bringing on guests, because I want to branch out with a new segment where I'm able to bring on guests and introduce them and let them rock out. So please help me with a catchy name for that. All right. Okay, so who is here? Oh, Cube is here with us. Let me add him on. Hold on. All right, Cube, can you hear me? Yep, I can hear you. Hold on. Let me add you on. Are you just on a mic or you have a webcam too? Okay. It's up to you if you want to show it or not. I'm just gonna. All right, no problem. Hold on. Let me add you to the discussion. All right. So I have our guest here, one of our guests, outside the queue. What's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Yeah. Peace to you, brother. Peace. I see your other guest ran, so we're gonna have to give him the Michael Johnson Golden Shoes Award
Mhm.
because I don't know what you guys were gonna discuss, but I don't know. I was waiting in line, so
Yeah.
I'm here now. So what's going on with it?
So the answer, Ayel, no, not in particular. That was really something that developed post exile. Okay. And redactions to what people call the Torah, the Chumash, was made during that time period. And as we discussed before, looking at PM her 63, you can see the position from those that was in Elevatine Island, that was on the barracks there, the mercenary community that was there. We have evidence in regards to their position, and what they subscribe to. And then we also see the version that crops up much later that actually injects Zion, a Messiah, and the King, right? So we see this juxtaposed, you know what I'm saying? So Brother JT said, what if I send you my email? It's going to be the same thing as the link I just put in the chat. Let me ask you a question outside. How hard was it for you to jump on the panel?
Yeah, it was almost one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I clicked on the link, I clicked enter, and then you brought me in.
Wow, that's it. I have no clue what's going on right now. But Brother Jay, let me go ahead and give you my email address. There you go.
Well, even though I found it difficult to join, if on an Obama phone, it may even be a bit more difficult.
That's probably maybe that's probably what it is. I don't know. I mean, Brother Jay, I mean, you can't sit here and think you're gonna give me the gospel and you can't even jump on the chat. I don't know how that's gonna work, bro. That's not gonna work, man. I mean, it's really that simple, man. So we'll wait on him to do that. So outside, let me ask you a question, man. Since you over there on SVDL, what's the gripe that Lex have with me, man?
Well, just from what I know, and obviously you would have to speak to him, more about that. But the gripe that he has is that you people, you Black Hebrew Israelites who claim to be Israelites, you aren't Israelites,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that he has a problem with. And I'll be honest with you and say myself, that's something that I also have an issue with, because
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that African Americans are
Mm-hmm.
Hebrew Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Gotcha.
I think that the true Hebrew Israelites, if you will, are the Jewish people that are in Israel right now.
Mm. So that's your stance, right?
Yeah, but I'm just responding to
Hmm.
your question about
Yeah.
Lex and his gripe with you, and I would say that I agree. I don't want to say I agree with the gripe, but I agree with what he's saying as
Hmm.
far as you guys are not Israelites.
Correct. Okay. So he supposedly put a warrant out for me. I don't know what this
Oh yeah,
digital warrant is. I don't know how that works, right? I'm not sure what
yeah.
court system is going to honor that. But I went to the county clerk and I was looking for a Rock Nation warrant that was out for me. They told me
Nah.
that you're okay. There's no warrants out for you. So I guess that's just his way of playing virtually to say, hey, this is your warrant out for you. So I'm telling him, not him directly, because I haven't really spoken to him directly. I'm telling I spoke to Kansu about it, and I told Kansu to relay it over to him and a couple other brothers in SBDL that I'm more than willing to bring him on the show. If he wants to debate the subject matter, we definitely can, and I can express what my position is on that subject matter. I'm reserving a lot of data for a debate like that, because I know he's not the only one who offered to debate me on that. But I want to reserve it so every time I have a debate, I bring out something new, so people will have to go back and pretty much just try to ascertain how accurate this data is and how does it play into what my position is on that, right? Because it's a bit unorthodox from what you get from a lot of other Israelites or Black Hebrew Israelites that make that profession. I don't use that term BHI or Black Hebrew Israelites to describe my position. I say that, as far as being an Israelite, that's by way of migration to West Africa. But West Africa is really the home base of these peoples that we came from, right? So you can't even understand yourself as an Israelite unless you fully and thoroughly study West Africa, right? And the problem is a lot of brothers don't like to go through West Africa to trace anything back, because they like to just leapfrog and jump into Israel, right? And they make a lot of errors in doing that. Also, because I'm part of several organizations, ISSAJ being one of them, ARCE being another one of them, I speak to scholars in the field who are ethnologists, people who deal with linguistics, people who are Egyptologists. SBL, I'm a part of that organization as well. There's biblical archaeologists in that field that work as part of that society or organization as well. I speak to various people who are experts in the field on subject matter such as this. I'm part of a Fringes and another organization. I joined this a while back. It's been a while since. Probably have to renew my membership. But it's another organization in regards to religion and ethics in West Africa. I joined it like about 4 years ago. So now that I'm thinking about it, I need to go back and renew my membership so I can bring a guest on from there. So I try to speak to people who are experts in the field instead of just debating and arguing in the conscious community or in a Christian Israelite community, and put forth my thesis for them to peer review, see what places seem to be weak, how to fill certain things in. But I think primarily the issue is that term Jew is a misnomer. If you're looking for that in West Africa, you're not really going to find it indigenously. And that there lies the biggest problem that a lot of people in our community face when trying to purport their identity as coming from Israel, right? But I'm going to save that for whenever this dude wants to come on the channel. He's going to have to come by himself, right? Because I realized that a lot of people talk tough when they got a lot of people with them, but when you get them by themselves, they humble down a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna bring out some information that people have not seen in this community, and I know because I'm on top of the arguments pro and con. And also, I'm going to argue the affirmative against my position as well, so he can be handicapped in whatever he's trying to utilize against me, and show him that I thoroughly know that, and show him my email correspondence with the people who have put forth a lot of these theories, such as the confluence theory and so forth, to let him know that I'm thoroughly aware of that position and how I address it. So I'm welcoming him on the platform. He can feel free to come on and jump in, and he'll have to rock it out by himself. I mean, I used to follow Lex way back in the day, but then he got a little bit weird and then he disappeared and he came back. Then he had the Sonetta situation when he was with Solom Mine and what's his brother's name, who does the hip hop news now. Oh God. And then they had their beef with Sonetta, and then he kind of separated from those brothers. And then after that, he kind of was kind of obscure for some time. And he came back out to the scene. So I have no issues with Lex personally. I don't have any personal issues with him. but I do want to respond to his warrant, right? Because I'm an upstanding virtual citizen. So I want to make sure that I respond to any warrants that's given out in regards to me. So definitely want to have that discussion with him. All right. So thank you for coming on Outside the Cube. I just wanted to kill some time. We got over 100 people here. No Brother Jay showing up. No G-Con showing up. Don't know what's going on with that. Maybe you can make some phone calls. I don't know.
Let me let me just respond to what you just said real quick. I appreciate your response, and I'll tell you that's not my particular lane when it comes to proving someone to be a Hebrew Israelite or disproving them to be a Hebrew Israelite. That's not my lane. And full disclosure, I was formerly a Black Hebrew Israelite
I
for
remember.
approximately 5.5 years. You see what I'm saying? So that's not my lane. I don't personally believe it because I have not been presented with the evidence. And furthermore, even if I was presented with the evidence to say that I was a Black Hebrew Israelite, that still would not give me
Enough conviction to move forward. Yeah, I
no,
understand.
no, 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 no. I would
Oh,
believe it. No, I would believe it, but I still would not agree with the position of God being real. And that's really why what I wanted to come on and speak with you a little bit about is about God and your belief in God.
okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So we could start off just, going back and forth on that a little bit. I don't like that term God, but we'll use it for the sake of people who may not be familiar with the terminology that I utilize in order to explicate my position.
So
But yeah, we can definitely.
what's the terminology that you prefer?
So God has a more Western connotation to it. And that entails a lot of Western ideals, ethics, morals, perspective, worldview, etc. So I try to refrain from using that term God. If we want to look at, I guess the closest thing would be a divine source or a mighty one or a chief power that governs things in regards to the what people would say is the spiritual realm. I research and have a lot of associates and friends who is deep into the esoteric, initiated rites in a lot of West African spiritual systems, and they share things with me as well. None of them claim to be what people will call the modern usage of the word atheist, because technically, if there's Israelites in here, they're all atheists, right? If you want to look at it from its
Facts. That's facts.
etymological usage in regards to the Roman Empire. But nonetheless, my position is that there is a power that's out there that's governing things. I don't say that, and I try to be very careful, right, when I say things, because I can speak from the Israelite perspective and how the ancient pre-exilic culture operated and what their viewpoint was in regards to a higher power. That Western concept of God would be foreign to them, right? And people try to anachronistically take that and push it into the past and impose it onto the thought forms that the people had at that time. And when you take a misguided approach like that, you're disconnected from the indigenous thought of the people there at that time, right? So,
Listen, I don't seek to do any of those
oh no,
anachronistically
Q,
gymnastics.
Q, I know you, Q.
No, but I'm asking you. Like my initial question was, what do you prefer? Since you don't like to use the term God, do you prefer Yahweh?
I mean, I guess you could say Yahoo. You could say Yahoo if you want.
Okay,
Um,
YHWH? Are we talking about the same person? When you say Yahoo and I say Yahweh, are we talking about YHWH? Yod Hey
uh,
Wahe?
well, YHW.
No, Yod Hey Wahe. Are we talking about the same person?
Yeah, you're talking
Not
about
person. Excuse me, not person, but
entity. Correct.
entity.
If you want to say
Cool.
that, yes, we're talking about the same entity. The reason why I say Yod Hey Wab is because that was more of um, the ancestral clan, egalitarian model of the deity as far as nomenclature is concerned or naming schemes is concerned, right? The Yod Hey Wafe is a later development that was political in nature, right? But go ahead, you can ask.
Yeah, cool. All right. So when it comes to Yahoo, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yahoo?
Mhm.
Yahoo? Okay. So when it comes to Yahoo, is there any evidence that you have that he actually existed?
So what will qualify as evidence for you?
Well, when I'm speaking to you about this Yahoo character,
Mhm.
evidence to me would be him coming down and presenting himself.
To me?
Absolutely. Don't you pray to him every day, don't you? You talk to him every
So,
day, don't you?
no, I don't pray to him every day. I do meditate and I do pray at times, right? I don't pray every day. The prayer that I pray is very is a particular formula that's utilized from templating it out of the text. And do I get responses? Yes, I do get responses, right? Because it's a form of divination, but there's other things that are involved besides just what people in the Western world will call prayer. Prayer is a formula, right? Meditation is a formula, and it was done in a particular fashion in the ancient pre-exilic times. Today, people don't do that with talismans at all. People don't have shrines. People don't pour libations. They don't do any of these things, right? So I'm a little bit different in regards to how I divine and speak to this power. And it's something that, for people who are in the known, they understand what this formula is in order to access this power. It's the same way of asking anybody. Like if I was to ask somebody who was part of, let's say, the Igbo culture, and they was doing alpha divination, and you was to ask them, do you really speak to this power? They would tell you yes. And like when I cast lots, I get responses. They do the same thing. They cast lots and it's responses. It's a mathematical formula that you purposely, and I could bring it up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about, that you have to actually look through, assess, and be able to calculate in order to see what that specific response is from the deity, right?
Let me ask you this question. If I have a magic 8 ball
Mm-hmm.
and I shook it up, if I
Mm-hmm.
asked a question and I shook it up and it
Mm-hmm.
gave me a response,
Mm-hmm.
could I then go on and say, well, there's a deity inside that magic 8 ball just because I got a response?
No, the deity doesn't reside in the 8 ball, and the 8 ball is not a qualified method of accessing that deity.
Well,
The specific tools that you have to utilize in order to access an answer from that deity, and an 8 ball will not suffice.
all right, so okay, let me ask you this then.
You'd have to be initiated. You have to know the protocol. There's a lot that you'd have to do in order for you to actually get the answer that you're seeking for. But if you're going to try to do it like a shortcut microwave method without being initiated and know the protocol, it's not going to work out. It's going to be much different.
Okay,
But
I
while you
got you.
talk, I'm gonna bring up the mathematical
Yeah,
formula
all
in
right.
alpha
Yeah,
divination and show you how it works. But go ahead.
yeah, that's fine.
Hmm.
Okay, well, for argument's sake,
Hmm.
I have a magic 8 ball and I believe that there's a deity inside.
That's fine.
So when I speak to or ask questions to this magic 8 ball and then I
Hmm.
shake it up, it provides me with an answer.
Okay.
Now, I can't tell you, excuse me, I can't prove to you that there's a deity inside. So
Hmm.
at this point, you would have to do what? Just believe me, right?
I would have to believe you. I mean, I have to
Right,
take your word for it unless I was there.
right. You would have to believe me, right? So when you're talking about this God that you're speaking to, I have to believe you, correct?
If you want, that's your choice.
No. I'm just saying. Of course, I don't have to, but I'm just
Unless,
saying,
unless, unless.
if I believe if what you're saying is true,
Mhm.
there's no way for you to prove it. So I have to believe you, right?
There's a way I could prove it if you was here with me. I can show it to you. I wouldn't do it in private. I'd have to do it in front of you so you can see how it works.
All
So
right.
at
So
first, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. No, I'm saying, so what I'm saying is, if you did it in isolation and you come back and tell me, oh, there's a God in my 8 ball, and I asked it a question and it gave me an answer, I would say, okay, how can I say that there's no God that you believe that's in that 8 ball? I don't know. And I don't even know what protocol or methodology that you utilize to determine that the answer that you're getting is different from being a random response as opposed to actually divining with that deity. I don't know. You'd have to lay these things out for me to understand. So what I'm going to show you is an article that explains to you how a divination session takes place in African spirituality, because like I said, in order for me to trace myself back through Israel, the preservation of the halakha that's templated in the pre-Israelite model is there in West Africa. And what happens is then adaptation has taken place. And the only way you can really understand divination in its preserved form that will reflect back to what we see in the ancient pre-exilic model, you have to study West Africa. So I'm gonna show you this, give you some insight into this. I would give you private books that was given to me on divination, but I was told not to disclose this from Babas that I've spoken to. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you things that have been published, right, by experts in the field, something that you can get that's in the public domain. And we're going to read through it so you can understand. Now, after we go through it, you can say, oh, that's BS, man. That's not true. I don't believe that. That's fine. But I'm trying to simply explain to you that there's a process that you have to engage before you can get a response and know that that response is from that higher power. All right.
Okay. Okay. But now, while you're pulling it up, I have
Okay.
to ask this.
Got it right here.
I have to ask this question.
Sure.
So, would you be willing to delve into some of the questions that you've asked this so-called higher power, and what were the responses that you received?
If you want, yeah, I could share maybe one or two examples with you if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool.
But what I like to know is, and let me just tell you specifically, so it just
Sure.
won't be weird. I would like for you to tell me the things that you asked for,
Okay.
the responses,
Mm-hmm.
and also the times that you asked certain things and did not get a proper response.
All right. So let me see if I can give you an example of something particular that I asked for. So pretty much in divination, the inquiry that's made to the deity has to be something that's a prerequisite that the deity lays out that should be presented to them, right? So I can't just come and just give any kind of prayer, because what you're doing is you're appealing a fate that has already been set by the deity. And the objective of prayer, if you're using a proper formula, is to avert or divert that faith that you deem to be unfavorable to you and ask the deity to intervene, right? So that's what happens with divining. So you'll get somebody that'll come and say, wow, this is happening to me. They'll go over to the priest and they'll ask the priest, hey, can you consult this deity so that way I know what's going on, right? Today in Christianity, people do that by saying, hey, this is my situation. Can y'all pray for me, right? And people just pray amiss, and there's no formula behind their prayer, and there's no prerequisites that they try to meet in order to have that prayer answered. Does that mean that Christians don't get their prayers answered? I'm not saying that. That's relative to whatever they lay out as a method. So one thing that I can tell you that I prayed about is in regards to certain career choices, right? That I was unsure of in regards to these career choices, and that I would need to be able to thread through a bunch of what people will call circumstantial and or things that are what's the word I'm looking for? Coincidental. So things that seem coincidental, and be able to actually get a response from the deity to say whether or not these coincidences are something that is just random, or is it something that is purpose, that's designed to drive me towards a particular destination. You also have to give an offering up to the deity, right? The deity requires something in return for something that it's doing for you, right? So the sacrifice can be made, or a request can be made for you to do something or for you to give something, right? So in this case, I had to give something to the deity, which I did. And in giving something to the deity was able to confirm for me that these coincidences are not random, but it is purpose. And for me to go ahead and take this position, and as a result of taking this position, this is what will be said to you when you get there. And that's exactly what occurred. So like I said, if you was here for one of those sessions, then I can be able to demonstrate that for you, right? I can demonstrate that for you. Now, this method can be unsettling sometimes for people because a lot of people in our community may not be familiar with it. There's a book that I recommended for my audience to go back and check. It's called Household and Family Religion in the Levant and Judah. And in there, going into the archaeological record, you'll see how they had certain things established in their home in regards to divination with the deity Yod-Heh-Wav, right? Which is more of the ancestral family deity, where Yod-Heh-Wav is more of the state political deity, right? So when you're reading the text or the Bible or whatever, you're only getting maybe about 40% of the culture, right? You have to go into archeology as well and find a way to summarize it. And there's several authors that have attempted to do that, but they're not doing it so they can actually practice it. They're doing it purely from an objective anthropological analysis, and they're presenting their findings to an audience for peer review, right? So does that answer your question? Before I, share my screen, just let me know.
Yeah,
Like I said, a lot of these, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, that answered part of it. I also wanted you to tell me about the times that you spoke to this deity and it did not speak back, or it gave you information that was not correct. Because because
Information that was
because
not correct. Go
really,
ahead.
really, when you're talking about the first thing,
Mm-hmm.
that was it was a little bit weird because you came with the thought of going into this career path, and the
No,
deity just
I didn't choose it. I didn't want to do it.
no. You came to the deity with the career path,
Correct.
and the deity responded, said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it, and everything will work out for you."
And
And
here's the confirmation. Correct. And then I
okay,
gave something in return.
okay, I got you. But I just find that a little bit weird that you have to
Do it.
spell it out to this deity who is omnipotent, omniscient, and all of these extra things. So let me continue here. Would you be able
Oh,
to
wait,
show?
slow down. All right. So I think by making the statements that you make about omniscience, omnipresent, etc., these are actual terms that is associated with deities who are supreme, and most of that comes from the Western perspective, and that's fine. But I know when terms like this is used, it's typically used of people who don't subscribe to any kind of ancestral deities or any kind of cultural deities or anything of those lines. So, and any culture that still does divination today, Ifa, for example, I'm about to show you down the screen, and then Afa, I'll show you that. The deity is more powerful than the individual. But does that stop them from consulting with the deity, or the deity from interacting with the person? No.
Yeah, but that's not what I was getting at. I
So what
was
would you get now?
so my question is this, so you can understand where I'm coming from.
Correct.
Is Yod Hey Wah, is he supreme? Is this the supreme deity, the one whom in Genesis created everything that we know today? Is that him? And
Uh,
I'm only saying him,
okay.
just colloquially. Is that him?
According to the literature, correct. Yes.
So when you are doing these divinations, you're
Mm-hmm.
speaking to him, correct?
Speaking to Yod Hey Wav, yes, correct.
The supreme deity, right?
Yes, over my, it's the patron deity of my culture, and
Okay.
he's been associated with being the creator of heaven and earth. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And only thing I was saying was that I found it a bit weird how you had to exactly spell it out to this deity who is omniscient and omnipotent.
So
That's
you
all I was saying.
so you're saying because a deity can be termed to be omniscient and omnipresent, that you should not have to divine with that deity? Is that what you're saying? Because when you divine, you have to bring something specific to get a response, a specific response. So are you telling me that the deity should already do whatever and I should not have to divine with the deity? Is that what you're saying?
Well, kind of yes and no. Now, and the reason I say yes is because your particular deity is omniscient. So he already knows, according to you, your deity, your deity already knows what you're coming with, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's okay if you come to the deity, but the way how you broke that down is you gave him the whole career path and saying, well, I don't know if I should do this.
Correct.
Like you broke the whole thing down. Now, if I could just give you a parallel,
Sure.
if I already know that my daughter is choosing between two schools,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't have to come to me and say, well, this school has this and this school has that, and run the whole thing down. When she comes to me and say, Dad, which school should I choose? There's no need for me to run the whole thing down. I'll say, okay, go to USC, and that's over with.
But that's so even if you had knowledge of that information, to know what two schools, maybe let's say you got the letters, the offers, right, in the mail, and you know the two schools she wants to choose. This is a kind of slightly different relationship, right? Because I don't know if you're expecting, like, if you're the one that's going to pay for the school, in order for her to go, let's say it's not a full scholarship or whatever, that's another discussion that needs to be made, right? Because you can have the money and you could pay for either school, but you may not find it to be an investment to go with one school over another. There has to be some kind of assessment being made, and you will require something for her to do on her behalf in order to ensure that this is the school that she should go, right? The bottom line is the fate is she's already going to go to a school, but the choice in regards to the fate is the thing that you're inquiring about.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. None of these other things are necessary for me to even think about because I'm basically putting myself in the shoes of this deity. None of these things are necessary.
Difficult, but
Well, you believe in them, I don't.
yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is this:
Mm-hmm.
if I already have the answer, I already know that my daughter is going to come to me.
Okay.
There's no need to talk for my daughter to tell me about how big the library is in USC versus TCU. It's not necessary. So the only thing I was pointing out is that you had to run down and talk to this deity to get this response. And you even made it a bit more specific to say that you had to bring him something.
Correct.
So you're doing basically half the work to get a response from this deity.
That's protocol. That's how it works. It's been like that since ancient times.
So
One culture. So I just want to make sure that you understand that.
Right. No, I don't have a problem with culture.
Okay.
So what did you bring to this deal? I know you want to get to what
now
you
want
saying.
to get personal stuff. Listen.
Oh, no. You know, if it's personal, that's fine. I'm not tripping off that.
So I mean, I'm probably not going to get into that.
Nah, don't get into it. If it's personal, don't get into it.
This is what I'm going to do. And the reason why I say that is not because I don't want to, but because for the people that follow already know that I have a lecture planned where I'm going to discuss those details so that they're aware. And if it applies for them to replicate, they can. But what I simply want to do for you, because I would have to ask you, do you subscribe to some supernatural ethereal entity that has some degree of supreme authority over things that you don't? Okay, so you don't subscribe to that, right?
No, I'm an atheist.
Okay, cool. So he was right when he called you an atheist, right? So
yeah, I was just joking with him because I was just joking because I'm like, dang, he busted me out already. I didn't even get a chance to get on.
I already interfaced with you on SVDL, and I saw the debate, so especially against Blue, so I kind of know already what your position is. So if you don't subscribe to that, that means you're not initiated into the know to know how these things work, right? Because you will simply find a logical explanation to either say, oh, no, let me dismiss it. That's not true. This is how you can logically explain or do the decision yourself. Or take a straight humanistic approach. Humanistic means you would say, okay, everything is just relying upon us as people. So if you're talking about your divining, that sounds silly. That sounds really crazy. But I'm going to be nice about it. And I don't want to kind of degrade your aptitude as far as being an intelligent or a person who knows some stuff. And I'm going to soften the blow by asking you some kind of leading or inquiring questions to kind of get you to see the point that we as atheists see, to say, well, maybe you don't have to do all of that simply if you want to have a decision. I mean, I understand that approach. I've had several discussions like this all the time, and that will be a subscription that you don't have, and that's fine. But then you would call any other group that's out there, whether it's the group is in Africa, whether the group is in Europe or Asia, you would say that any of these people that's doing this, you'll say that, oh, all of these people are crazy. Why are they going to deities and doing divination? You know what I'm saying? You would say that people who are doing divination today, that it does not make any logical or scientific sense, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So have you ever been initiated into any orders?
No.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to any priests of any kind of spiritual system?
No.
Have they ever broken down for you the protocol that if it follows, this is how you can get an answer or response, or even see something happen that you cannot scientific or logically explain? Not saying that there isn't an explanation, but something that they'll be able to showcase for you, so you would say, oh wow, yeah, I think that this thing could be in actuality. So you've never
broken anything down, and that goes back into your second question, which was about have I spoken to a priest? So
correct.
No.
All right. So have you done any objective studies on this phenomenon?
No.
Okay. So that means you haven't read any articles, any papers on it, or anything like that, correct?
Well, listen, I feel, if I could just interject,
sure.
In your questioning, I find it unnecessary. And if you give me a few moments, I'll tell you why.
Sure.
Now, have you, and I have to ask you this question just to continue what I'm trying to say and get to my point as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Now, have you ever went to this deity?
Hmm.
Now you just told me that this deity answers your questions.
If you meet the
And
prerequisites,
okay, now does this deity do anything for you?
does the deity do anything?
Correct.
Yeah, the deity can do things for me, and
Okay.
has done things for me. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got you. Okay, now have you ever gone to this deity
Mm-hmm.
and asked this deity
Mm-hmm.
to release black people from the stranglehold that the oppressors have against us? Now,
Okay, go ahead.
full disclosure, I'm not a black power crazy. I do love my people. I'm for my people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one who looks at the European in America today as he, has his foot on my neck and
Mm-hmm.
controls everything in my life, because it's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
So my question stands.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever gone to this this deity and asked him about the European and release of the stranglehold?
I've inquired in regards to being effective, um, in regards to waking up our community, in order for them to respond to what's actually taking place here, despite here in America. To simply ask the deity to release a stronghold is going against the protocol. So, like I said, there's when you understand how divination works, and this can be done anywhere. Anybody, especially in America, for some reason, there's an explosion of people that want to culturally misappropriate Yoruba culture, and even Yoruba itself is a house of word that is really not something that's positive, but that's neither here nor there. But they want to take Ifa and apply it to themselves. They want to become a Baba in the Ifa culture. They want to divine, and they want to be able to get further understanding. And you ask them, and a lot of these people are people who are advocates of Black power in the conscious community. And you ask them, hey, have you asked the deity, why are we still under the stranglehold of the oppressor? And they'll tell you that's not something that's appropriate to ask. Right now, can you siphon power from that deity in order to respond to the oppression? Yes, you can. I mean, even if people want to look at the Haitian Revolution, they called upon the Loas in order for them to overthrow the oppressor. They did certain rites that was preserved amongst them. And when they performed these rites, because if you study the history, they've made attempts prior and it didn't work because it wasn't a collective effort. And no matter how many Loas was looking over these people that was brought over here to a different land that was foreign to them, there were certain things in particular that they had to perform collectively in order to get the results that they were looking for. Now, was that designed to release oppression for all peoples that look like them all over the globe? No, that was for a very relative situation. So that's why I say, unless you know what the protocol and prerequisites is, there are certain things that if you inquire about, that you're not going to get an answer where you're endowed with this 1,000% supernatural power to go and remove the oppression over America. Some things like that are part of fate. And the only way that fate can be overturned is what you do about it. So I have to actively get involved in my community. I have to be able to examine the think tank of oppression, not just what I see on the surface, and be able to understand the mechanics of it and what we can do as a community in order for us to break away from that oppression. And that solution is autonomy. That's a cultural trait from what it is that I subscribe to.
Let me just cut in here for a second, because I specifically asked you, do you speak to this God? You
Mm-hmm.
said, yes, no problem.
Divination,
Yeah,
correct.
he speaks back through definition. You had no
Mm-hmm.
problem with that.
Correct.
Then I asked you, does this God do things for you? You said,
Correct.
yeah. You had
Mm-hmm.
no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've already laid the foundation that this particular deity that you have is omnipotent. But you're telling me that this particular deity has limits and this is out of bounds.
Never
And
said
we can't.
that. I
Well,
never
no, no.
said
Well,
that.
that wasn't the exact phrase that you used, but
Mhm.
you were basically saying that this is basically out of bounds. We can't ask him that.
And what I'm saying is there are certain things you don't inquire about.
Okay,
And
got you. Well,
of
that's
course,
exactly what I just said.
yeah. So that's why
That's
I said
exactly
that
what I just said.
certain things will require me to act and to do something in order to get results. Certain things you do inquire about because it's you having a relationship with this deity.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, there are certain things that I can't just ask unlimited anything and get those results. I mean, if you're going to use what is found in archaeology and what is found in the narrative of the literature, you'll see that that's not how that works. And these are the two things that are going to bring you back to the cultural understanding, unless you see it preserved in a living culture today to understand the mechanics of how this works and how it operates. Right.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So certain things, if the power that you're talking about is omnipotent and omnipresent, certain things is allowed for a purpose.
Well,
Right.
that's your
So,
power, not my power. But yeah, I got you. I got you.
I got you. I'm just speaking generally. I'm not
No,
imposing
it's fine. It's
on you.
fine. It's
Yeah,
fine. I was just
yeah.
joking.
So what I'm saying is this is similar
But
to.
hold on, I kind of wanted to get back to what I was saying.
Sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, like I was saying, just a quick recap.
Mhm.
Recap. I asked you, does this God speak to you? You said yes. Does he do things for you? You said yes. And then when I asked you about, this God doing something with his power that he apparently has an unlimited amount of, you tell me that it's out of bounds and I can't ask that particular question. So my question to you would be this then. We've seen, according to you, and the way how you look at things, we've seen the Haitians call upon this deity, correct? Yes or no?
Not the same deity that I'm referencing. No,
Okay, great. Okay, well,
the
whatever
Loa,
deity that,
which
okay,
is
great.
based on where they came from. But go ahead.
Okay, great. Whatever deity that they called on that deity.
Correct.
And if we look at the results of that,
Hmm.
we would have to say that they won the war, right?
I don't know if they won the war. They won those battles in order to get a degree of independence. But even though Haiti seems like it's being controlled by the same people, it's really not. The strings that's actually pulling, on these puppets that are there. So
So the deity that they called on allowed them to win battles,
correct.
to get their independence, only to be subjected by other puppets that are pulling the strings. Is that
And,
what you're telling me?
and the reason why is because the
No,
people
no,
were.
no, no, no. Is that what you're telling me? I just want to understand what you're saying.
Yes, and the reason why is because the consistency was undermined.
Okay,
And when
so
the
basic.
consistency of what was done to initially start the ball rolling, that dwindled away, and therefore they lost that same capability in order to maintain it, right? But again, it's in any initiated system, the rules of do's and don'ts. I
Okay,
mean,
I got you.
and what I'm saying, and I'm not saying that just to put you in a box or put the day in the box, but it's just understanding the prescription that is received is based on the subscription that you have to abiding by certain laws and bylaws that is required of the deity. And this is in
Okay,
any divination system. It works that way.
and that's what I'm attempting to get to, these other divination systems. But right now, I
Correct.
want to deal with this Haitian divination system.
Okay.
So what we've seen is, as you just said, you corrected me. I said
Mhm.
war. You said they got independence. So this deity that they executed this particular date, this particular divination system on or through, it landed them where they are today. Correct? Yes or no?
It landed them where they are today because they revolted with the assistance of the Loas. Is that what you're saying?
No, 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 not because they revolted, because they called on this particular deity. And this particular deity allowed
For
them,
that act that occurred, correct.
it allowed,
It empowered them, or it gave them the necessary hope, confidence, and encouragement so they can act and
oh,
perform the deed.
so they didn't call on the deity with power. They called on the deity with hope and faith, is what you're telling me.
So what I'm saying is the deity empowered them based on their inquiry to act out or perform this act.
Okay, but what particular empowerment? Because you just said it gave them faith and hope. So it empowered them through
Mhm.
faith and hope. It didn't do anything powerful. It empowered them through faith and hope. It didn't give them guns. It didn't make them
Didn't have to
stronger.
give guns. Well, they claimed it did make them stronger because there were also things that they consumed as well that
It-
allowed them to go and perform that act of rebellion. So if
that's
you
fine.
want, I can get a transcript of what we have in regards to what took place, and then we can read it like that, something that's primary,
Right.
and we can sift through it that way. So what I'm simply just trying to give you examples of things that you're probably familiar with, and that's why I referenced that, right? But I think what you're saying is that that was still purely a humanistic attempt And
No, that's not where I'm going.
okay, go
To
ahead.
be honest with you, I'm definitely like not going there because you mentioned that this deity gave them faith and hope, and then you just brought up other things that they may have made them stronger.
Mhm.
Okay, I got you. Let's just say that. I'll give you that. So after this independence that they gained, are you telling me that this deity went to sleep?
I don't know. I don't know if that deity went to sleep or not. I would have to be initiated in that spiritual system to actually answer for you whether or not that deity is sleeping. I,
Okay, I
I,
got you.
I mean, I don't know how I can honestly, I could give you my opinion, you know what I'm saying, which I'm doing right now, but I'm not initiated into that spiritual system to tell you 100%, nor have I inquired of anybody in that spiritual system to tell me what's going on. Like, I'll give you another example, right? Do you know what Obeah is?
No.
Okay, so Obeah is something that was utilized by the Igbo that lived in Jamaica. And what was going on was that a lot of the white slave masters that was there, and even there's an account of a white slave woman who brought charges up on a black woman for attempting to use Obeah against her, that even if Obeah, their understanding of Obeah was superstitious, it still had some degree of power over their minds because they feared it, right? Because they'll say, and if you look at their accounts, that there were certain things that the slaves were doing by following this practice that enabled them to do certain things that without this practice, they would not be able to do. Now, if you want, I could bring up an account of that and we can read through it to see what this is. Now, like I said, it could be purely superstitious. It's possible, you know what I'm saying? But it had a degree of influence in favor of the slave against the oppression that made the oppressor leery of them maintaining this cultural trait. So that's why they brought them on charges and they outlawed Obeah because they didn't want them to keep practicing this. People will call it like black magic or stuff like that. But there was a lot of this that was going on in the islands and in the Americas. And this is what some historians will call Africanisms that was still preserved with them when they were brought over here. And they utilize these things for certain incidents to occur so they can have favor over unfavorable circumstances. Hence why we see a lot of rebellions that also took place that have been documented, but have not fully been published. So we get our, what you call it, our Nat Turners and Denmark Vessies. Like you only know about a handful of them, but it was a whole bunch of them that if you go back, it was the Africanisms that they were practicing that allowed them or empowered them to commence these revolts. Because without that, they would have stayed docile.
Okay. Well, I do want to say, thank you for saying you don't know to the question that I asked,
Of course.
because, if you're not studied in something, that's the best way to answer something. But I do find it weird that you would bring up a particular deity. And when I begin to question what happened, we ultimately peel back the onion and we get to, I don't know. And that's fine. Because when it comes to people asking me, an atheist, about God, which I can do the same for you, the ultimate answer is we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. So next thing, we would have to say at this point
And
that that
I'm gonna let you end off with this.
okay,
Only
cool.
it's not because I have an issue, only because I know people in the chat they probably want to move on to another subject. So I want to
Yeah, that's fine.
honor them because they support the channel. But yeah, you can ask another question. We'll engage, and then I'll definitely have you on here another time. We can schedule something and we can rap a little bit more.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So
So
then,
yeah. So the bottom line that I was trying to bring out when you brought up Haiti and their particular divination and deity that they requested, what I was trying to show you is that that particular deity failed them ultimately.
I
So
wouldn't say
what I
that
well,
because
if you
because they are also required to do their part. If they're not doing their part, the deity is not failing them.
Well, then I have to ask you this question subsequently. What does it, and this is why I asked you earlier, what did you bring to this particular deity or divination ceremony that you do? Because if you bring anything physical, I would then have to ask you, well, what does God need with a flashlight or a goat or any of these things? You said, no, I'm just being honest.
I feel you. I feel
I'm not
you.
even being funny.
I
That's why I
feel
was
you.
asking you, and you
I
said you
feel
didn't want to get into it, and I respect that.
Yeah. So
So
it's not the need for the earthly thing. It's the principle behind the sacrifice.
okay, but
Right?
if
So
you
it's a relationship.
I
It's
understand
a
sacrifice.
contract. So
Yeah,
if I'm going to ask you for something, it would only be right that you require for me to do something in advance, unless you're just willing to give people $100,000 every day. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And
but
being
see,
taken advantage of because
but
those
we run in,
have a relationship with you. Mhm.
but and I know we're gonna end it, but we
Sure.
run into problems when we're talking about me and you on a human level. You
Uh-huh.
know, quid pro quo. If I do something for you, you do something for me.
Oh, remember, you did that with your daughter,
No,
right?
no. But listen, but
Yeah.
understand me. If we talk about on a human level, we
Mhm.
understand that you do something for me, I do something for you. But when
Mhm.
we're talking about on a God level,
It's the
what
same
can
way.
he? No, but understand me. What can he do with anything that we can bring him?
But that's why I said it's not about the actual object itself, right? So there was an ancient belief that when people brought food offerings to the deities, that the deities would suck some kind of life force out of it and then allow it to be consumed by the priest, so the person that is actually eating the food who had just sacrificed it, right? And some of this was steeped in superstition until its consistency provided a formula that, when repeated, just like we see in science, it yielded the same results for the initiates and so forth, that it was continued to be passed on from generation to generation. So it's not the fact that the deity needs something in this material realm in order to to perform something, but it's a degree of sustainability in regards to the sacrifice and a principle behind it to showcase that the individual who is requiring something is also going to do their part and keep up with all the prerequisites in order to ensure that further inquiries will be answered, right? So
And
it's a way that the deity actually establishes a relationship with the inquirer.
and I want to end off this, and I promise I'm gonna
Sure,
end
sure.
off on this time. When you're talking about the deity wanting something,
Mm-hmm.
and you just said, okay, well, it's not necessarily the thing that's physical, because that's really the only thing that we can give him outside of our I guess I'm trying to find the best word for it, our passion or our want, or I know I'm using the wrong word.
No, it's
um,
okay.
I'm drawing a blank right now, but we when you're talking about something that's not physical,
Mm-hmm.
it would have to be our willingness, our will, our passion. That's the only thing that we would be really able to give him.
Mm-hmm.
And even that could be, subjective in certain terms. But I want to end off by saying this.
Sure.
You know what? I'm gonna hold that for the next discussion. Because that's gonna take you somewhere else in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah, no
I'm
doubt.
gonna hold that. Hey,
No
get my email address, bro. I'm gonna put it in the chat
No,
again.
no, 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 no. Let me put mine in the chat. You email me right now. Take a look at the chat. Email me right now, and let me lock you in. And we can continue this on my platform, on another platform. It's just that I'm not biased like that. Like, I'll let anybody come on here and have a dialogue with me about whatever they
Yeah, I
want
see
to talk
that.
about.
That's cool. That's
I'm
cool.
not going to cut you off, disrespect you, because that happens on a lot of other platforms. But I think that if this is more structured, where we can actually, have a third party moderator that will give us the X amount of time to express certain things. I think that would be a great way to edify the audience to see both sides of the coin. So there could be some progress in our community in regards to how to conduct these type of discussions. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
Do you see your email there, Q? You see
yeah,
it?
yeah, I'm gonna email you, and maybe we can get maybe 5 points of discussion,
Sure.
and we can have a discussion, and talk a little bit and try to edify the people, and try to bring more of these people to atheism, man. No, I'm just
Well, look, they're already
but
atheists if they're against the state-sponsored religion. They're already atheists. I mean, I don't think nobody in here subscribes to any Roman gods or Roman deities. So, I mean, according to the etymology of how the actual term developed, they're all atheists.
yeah, but we can't really deal with state-sponsored religion, because atheism is actually before that. And when you talk about
The
state-sponsored
concept,
religion,
the
yeah,
concept.
the concept is before that. But let me get out of here, man, because it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, no
But yeah, hey,
problem.
peace. Hey, thanks for letting me on, man. I'll listen in for a little bit more. I know the chat is clamoring for me to get
Yeah.
up out of here.
No problem. No, Cube, I appreciate that. And, like I said, I'm open for these type of discussions as long as the person I'm talking with is reasonable. And I know you are reasonable. Like I said, I've talked to you in the past, and I've seen you debate, and I've seen you also moderate on SBDL, because that's how I met you. That's how I found out about you.
Right.
And I see that you're a laid back brother. So, I mean, we can have this. For me, I love discussions like, excuse me, but this channel, it has a particular focus. So that's why I'm saying I don't want to shift away from it. And that's why I said if we go onto another platform that's more independent of this one, then it'll be more open for us to have it more structured, and we can come out with whatever we want to share. So I agree.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up. I'm gonna email you. We can probably set something up when we get time and schedules match up. Hey, but thanks, man. I appreciate your time. You have a good night, bro.
Anytime. You too, Q.
No
All
doubt.
right, peace.
Peace.
All right. So let me get back here. All right, so that is my brother Q. I saw the Q. He's a good dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I met him over at Solar Vision Debate League. I was in some general discussions they were having. Me and him interfaced a couple of times. I also seen him debate. So he's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't have a problem with anybody who doesn't make things personal having a dialogue with me about whatever they want to dialogue about. You know what I'm saying? Like I have no issues with that. The main reason why I had to show the brother sources outside of my particular subscription is because there's not a lot of direct papers written on it or books from somebody who's actual practitioner of it, right? So I have to work on putting these articles together, get them peer reviewed and published, so then I can have a point of reference that outlines specifically what I'm talking about, and it's detailed enough so that way somebody can pick it up, read it, understand it before they engage me in regards to what my position is. So it's kind of difficult when there's not a lot of people in the community that have the perspective that I have. I'm great at, dictation. I mean, I used to write a lot. I don't really write that much anymore, hence why I don't have more articles out. I have a couple of them that I've done, and one of them I'm reserving for ISSAJ conference presentation whenever that may happen. But ultimately it's difficult to say, okay, look, this person in my community wrote this academic paper explaining and detailing that. Like this, I don't have a lot of references like that to do that, right? So what I have to do is showcase, different references and kind of like explain or interpret how that applies to a practitioner of the discussion that's in those papers, right? So I wanted to bring up on the screen several things and the reason why I bring IFA up is because IFA is like something that is popular, you know what I'm saying, in the Black community. So a lot of people are familiar with it, and people who don't engage in it, I want to pretty much show them how the process works, because I know initiates in that system who have shared information with me, who has given me personal notebooks of notes for my own personal edification that I'm not at liberty to really share publicly. So I honor the fact that they've given it to me by not sharing it. So what I have to do basically is go to published works in the public domain and showcase indigenous people from those cultures, explaining to you objectively how the system works. And when people who are not initiate, people who are not studied in this type of information, you can tell that the line of questioning that they ask is simply not because they're, purposely being antagonistic. It just simply means that they don't know the protocol, the prerequisites, or the purpose why certain things are performed. And this is why when people are initiating certain rites, these things are explained to the initiate, and it's kept esoteric with the initiate because it is something that is almost like a VIP, kind of access that you get if you're able to keep certain things exoteric. So what I try to do is I try not to expound too much on what I do personally until I publicly publish it. And when I do, then people can review it, and then we can have a dialogue from there. So the closest thing that I have outside of, grabbing from a resource here for pre-Exilic Israelite culture is to actually go into IFA, which is heavily studied and broken down by various scholars, right? And it's almost like the closest thing I can show of a preserved culture that's here today that I can use to springboard off or to showcase, like, look, in ancient Israel, they had a similar practice, and the same principles and prerequisites were similar. Now, the deity that you do it towards and certain ordinances in the process, that will differ, right? But you have to go to a preserved culture, and West Africa is the best preserved culture to get it in order to expound on or give somebody the indigenous lens to see what was being done in ancient pre-Exilic Israel, right? So let me bring up this article for y'all real quick. We're gonna go over this article real quick. And I want y'all to see this. And this is why I say I study a lot of West African spirituality. I love that information. And because I say that it has preserved the indigenous ancient pre-exilic halakha, you have to go into it in order to see a real life example of how these things would have been performed thousands of years ago, right? Now, like I said, there are going to be some differences, right? But the things that you can parse out and do a cross-cultural analysis in comparing, you'll take those elements and say, look, this is how this was performed during that period of time because the methodology is similar, right? So let me show y'all this screen real quick. And again, it's difficult to ask an initiate of Ifa, or someone who has attained their Baba Lao status, to say, hey, disclose to me how this works. And is this real? And like that it doesn't work that way. And like a person who's on the outside will feel like, well, that's unfair. Like, you know, you could be saying anything. How do I know what you're saying is true? Then you'd have to invite them to be an initiate. But if in good conscience, they don't want to subscribe to that, it's not going to happen. And therefore, it defeats the entire purpose of the inquiry. The people who inquire are people who already presuppositionally subscribe to whatever the spiritual system is. Now, some people will say, well, that's a form of delusion or associated delusion, blah, blah, blah. There's psychological ways in which these things are explained. And I've studied and read tons of material on that, right? That's why I said I kind of understood his angle, but it's like somebody who's a Mason, right? And there's certain things done in Masonry. And this person, because they are not initiated Mason, they only know from stuff that they've read in the past or read books or heard people say or watch videos. They'll tell you, okay, this is how Masonry works, but they've never been initiated to actually reap or be a benefactor of the benefits that come along with going through these rites of passage and being able to do certain things. Now, I've been fortunate enough to have people who are close to me, you know, who are Masons, right? They're still Masons today, and they've had talks to me about these things. So I can't give certain specifics because every lodge, there's some kind of differences. And if I start saying something specifically, a person who's in the know will know, oh, that lodge, they have these details, and they'll be able to see what lodge does what. This is why when you're initiated, there are certain details that are peppered there purposely in order to determine who is releasing this information in regards to our initiated system. And as an Israelite, for you to be able to reconstruct and restore the ancient Israelite culture, there's going to be some specific details that is in that reconstruction that you'll know the source where it comes from. So if I bring certain pieces of information out and people that are part of my organization or watches this channel, and I demonstrate for them, right, which I've been doing behind closed doors, but demonstrate for them, look, this is how this works, this is how that works, blah, blah, blah. And I go and I hear somebody start speaking on it. After I do that, then I know the only way they could have known that is from somebody that's within my group. And what I do is that I give different people different specific details. So that way, when the information goes out, I know specifically who said what, right? So again, a person who is not involved into this knowledge, because, and the reason why is because if a person is not going to presume that the results is something that is out of the hands of the person that is offering the information or them themselves, then it's not going to have the same effect, right? If that person was to showcase for you something that you would look at and say, wow, you know what, man, I'm a humanist, right? I believe in pure logic and reason and science, you know, as it's called, where it just means, you know, knowledge, but then it has a more modern connotation to it. And you was to see something occur, you would not attribute that act to some kind of ethereal deity. You would say, wow, that was something cool that you just did or was performed. I don't know how it happened, blah, blah, but there's some kind of logical scientific explanation for it. So can spirituality and science coincide together? Yes, they can. But it will only take a person who's willing to be open-minded enough to study science and then to look into their spirituality and find a way to say, okay, look, I use this for this and I use this for this. And there's ways that they can coexist, and it will still allow you to formulate a worldview that is not fully dependent on one or the other, but that gives you balance as you're navigating through life. You understand what I'm saying? So hopefully, I don't know if y'all getting, if that's making sense. But again, it's just me being able to think outside the box and be able to showcase for you that I have these discussions all the time. I have sources that are publicly published, which I can only share. And like I said, you know, when a person who is not initiated says, well, if your power is almighty, why can't it do this? Again, they're not initiated to know the protocol and how things work and why divination takes place in the first place. They're not given this information. So their way of thinking is outside of that protocol. And I understand that. So that's why I try my best to kind of convey it in a medium in which they can receive, without fully alienating them away from the information and or disclosing too much of that initiated information that even if they were seeking genuinely, if they come in with a presupposition, they wouldn't get anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So hopefully that begins to make sense. So that's why on this channel, I've shared sources on Pre-Exilic Israelite culture, and even the book that I showcased, I had showed people like, look, this is ancient Pre-Exilic Israelite practices. These are the things that they did, they performed in order for them to get certain results. And you know, if you know how it works, you know that certain inquiries will be resolved, because people that I know who are initiated in Ifa, I ask them all the time, like, yo, why are you not a millionaire? Like you over here divining with some deity that has this power, but you're not a millionaire. And they will explain to you that that is not the purpose of inquiries. It's to make me a millionaire. That's not something you ask. That's something that you acquire, right? Based on whatever enabling abilities that you get from your relationship with the deity, right? And then again, the deity is not going to do everything for you. You must also, as part of the compact or contract, you must also perform certain things where you can yield certain results based on your interaction relationship with that deity. And we see this also happen in the literature, even though the literature also has some literary devices that you have to be able to parse out. But looking at that and anchoring it with the archaeology, you can pretty much replicate what they did during that time period to see if it yields similar results. Now, I'll tell you this, I purposely have not done everything yet, but I've done enough to get results to see that if I move forward in it, that it's effective and it's repeatable. But that's the thing, you have to know how it works. And a person who just doesn't care, you know, to subscribe to any of that, they're not going to understand why, right? So their questions is going to be based on, well, why and well, how. And it goes to show that their method of thinking is not indigenous, right? To see why these things occur. And that's fine. You know, people are entitled to believe what they want to believe, subscribe to what they subscribe to. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to, you know, call somebody out, disrespect somebody because they have a subscription to something. No, I'm open for inquiry in regards to my position. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's not belligerent, disrespectful, personal, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Koob is a cool brother. You know what I'm saying? I have no issues with the brother. So I'll be able to talk at length about this, but being that this channel is not geared or focused to that, I want to make sure I keep it based on the subject matter. So let me show this article to you. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to bring up this book that I showed y'all before. And I have maybe about 4 other sources that are similar to that. I'll probably bring out in future discussions. But I pretty much want to show people objectively, from an outsider's perspective, show you the process so you can kind of like understand how it works. So let me give you an example, right? So if I'm going to cast lots, and you can cast lots with certain approved things, right? An 8-ball is not something approved to cast lots. If you cast dice, that's not an approved method of casting lots, right? But if you do things like small bones, small rocks, or whatever the case may be, things that you know that was utilized during that time period in order to cast the lots, and then you see a preserved culture that is utilizing the same methodology, you would understand, well, why are these objects utilized for this part of divination? I mean, anytime you pray, that's divination. You're divining. Every time you pray, you're divining, right? Casting lots is a form of divination. Pouring libations is a part of divination. right? Shrines is a part of divination. Offerings is a part of divination. You giving your life in exchange of servitude and devotion to the deity is a part of divination, right? And again, because there is a theological discussion on what fate is, right? And how fate is ordered and how it works or operates. You have to be able to look at both sides. So I can argue against my position, right? That's how you know you're objective. If you can effectively, without emotion, argue against your position, you are an objective thinker. If you cannot do that, then you're not an objective thinker. So when you encounter people who make genuine inquiries like this, you'll get frustrated. You'll lose patience. You'll get upset. But if you understand their line of thinking and why they think that way, you'll have more patience with them, right? You would have actualized the situation, right? If you look at Maslow's pyramid of needs, you'll see that the top cornerstone, not the cornerstone, excuse me, the pyramid top has to do with self-actualization. You actually get to a point in your journey where you don't need to take things personal. That doesn't mean people won't take things personal with you, but you don't have to take things personal in dealing with people, right? So let's go ahead and look at this document real quick. Shout out to JH125. I appreciate the donation. So let me see. Shalom Malak. I was wondering, do you have any insight how to implement natural supplements for a woman that has had thyroidectomy? Yes, I do. Please email me at naturalpathtoeden@gmail.com. Email me those health inquiries, and I'll see what I can do to help you or at least point you in the right direction. All right. So let's go ahead and look at this. And again, I just don't want I don't want people to assume that people who are spiritual don't have common sense, don't think logically, don't think outside the box, are not scientific, because there's a lot of psychological phenomenon that has been written about that I would love to get into, which are gray areas in the science that leaves room open for people who subscribe to various spiritual systems. And this has been thoroughly written on. I guess I'll bring it out in the future or whatever. And understand, like I said, both sides of the coin allowed you to really be objective and allow yourself to be questioned, right? Most of the time, people who don't like to be questioned in regards to their particular subscription is that people who don't really understand it, or people who have not gotten to the point of character transformation where they have enough patience to have certain dialogues, right? You should, and this is how you should judge your leaders, right? A lot of leaders have not gotten to that point of characterization where the development is such that they allow for open inquiry without getting upset, without being angry. You just see, and that one time I cut the brother off. I disrespected the brother. I raised my voice. I was getting shifty and nervous. I don't act like that. I mean, it's. I'm still working on maintaining that, but I've gotten to a point where of my conviction where I'm open to discussion, and I have no problem with people disagreeing with me or sharing information new that I didn't know about. Like Outside the Cube was on a broadcast one time. This was some time ago, maybe about 6 months or so ago, and he was sharing some information that I was like, oh, I didn't know nothing about that. So I went back and researched it. I was like, oh, this is interesting. You know what I'm saying? And after researching and reading it, now I've acquired that data and I've put it in a data bank. So that way I can go to it and having certain conversations with either that person or people who bring that idea out. So I can still learn and understand that without relinquishing my own personal subscriptions. And that can be pretty difficult for some people. But it's like, what is the purpose of you engaging in this spiritual system in the first place? If it's just simply and solely for identity purposes, then you've missed the entire point of it, right? Just to boast that, oh, I'm an Israelite, so I'm above everybody else, but you don't understand that point. When the Most High said in Shemot chapter 19, verse 6, that I'm gonna make you a what? Priesthood above all nations. The priest is a servant to the deity, and the priest is a vessel to serve the people on behalf of the deity, not for the priest to brag about being a priest. And if you look at any priest today, or people that operate in any order, spiritual system, or whatever, you can tell a person who's initiated by how they carry themselves, right? You can tell, oh, that person's initiated, how they carry themselves, how they convey information, right? So these are things that you can see and things that you can pretty much identify. But unfortunately, in my community, a lot of people don't like to be questioned. They get angry, upset. They start calling you names. They get disrespectful. They get loud. They cut you off. And that to me is not fair, right? To not the person you're going back and forth with, but whatever audience is watching, right? Because they will get caught up in the melee and be confused, and it would have no edification. So the reason why I take my approach is because as somebody who is walking this path and understanding the prerequisites that come with it, the objective with open inquiry and discussion is to allow myself to be questioned, and also for me to ask questions for the edification, not of just me or the person I'm speaking to, but the audience, so they can see both sides and make their own sound decision. You understand what I'm saying? And when you get to the point of actual self-actualization, everything will start to make sense. It will. And you will be on this quest in order to understand both sides of the coin. So let's get to this article. I'm gonna show this article real quick, and then I'm gonna go to the flip side of the article. Shout out to Judah Rain for the donation. Thank you so much. Thank you for your info, brother. May the Most High keep you. I believe in the Creator and all His mercy on us as a nation. Shalom to that, my brother. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. All right. And if we did, then that's great. If we have, I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, outside the cube, I didn't. Oh, outside the cube did a donation as well, saying good broadcast. Thank you so much for that, outside the cube, and thank you for coming on to spark these type of discussions so that my community can hear it in a format where there's not yelling, screaming, cursing, getting loud. None of that is necessary. It's not. You know how to carry yourself when you see the efficacy of your practices. And in order to maintain the efficacy of your practices, there's a requirement that the deity has on your character. It's a process because we are rough and we will never be fully refined until we meet our maker. But in the process for disseminating certain sensitive information to a community that is heavily dogmatic, the only way it can be effectively conveyed is through character transformation to be an ambassador for that patron deity, right? Shout out to By Hearing and Hearing By in the building. Moriel Fall gave Revelation 1 and 6. Okay, yeah, that right there is similar to what we was reading in Exodus chapter 19 and verse 6 that I went ahead and spoke on. All right. Shama said he be thinking I make up words sometimes. Nah, go ahead. Like, you can always go back to the broadcast, pause any word that I say, and go back and look it up. To be honest with you, I sometimes I scale down my vocabulary, right? Because I want what I'm saying to be accessible to the mainstream, right? So that way they can apply what's being said and yield results, right? And when I do my lectures, as opposed to me talking one-on-one with somebody or doing these live streams, I try to make the lectures more accessible, not by means of things that I say to it, but also through references. So if you've missed anything that I've said, it's not intentional, and I give you a point of reference to go back and check it out. And I'm very open with my sources, right? These are people who are experts in the field or who write on these subjects, and I like to furnish their material for reference so that people can see that my foundation is built on things that's already ongoing discussion in these fields of knowledge, right? Thank you, One Nails One. I appreciate that. I agree. And I think that that's the problem. Thank you for saying that. Like, I promise I'm going to show you the article before it gets too late and go into the book. But what she said is extremely important. And I'm going to tell you why. I realized that my influence went further when I transitioned into this way of life. And I'll say that to say this: when I was younger, and I'm not going to tell you all my escapades or whatever, but when I was younger and I had a personal life event occur in my life that happened or whatever. I'm not going to really get into the details of that. But when I was young, about 16, 17, that really caused a schism in my psyche where I felt betrayed, um, by something that happened internally with my family. And as a result of deflection, because I could not directly address the source of it, so I kind of like deflected, and which is a self-defense mechanism. And what I did was it hardened me enough so that I got to a point where I just felt like I didn't care, and I would do things that I shouldn't have been doing. Like I said, the people who knew me when I was much younger, let's say they've never followed up with me or whatever, if they came back and saw I was doing this, they'd be like, whoa, what the heck is this? You know what I'm saying? They would be dumbfounded. And when I go back home, back to New York, and I bump into these brothers sometimes, and they say, oh, and I was about to say my street name, but whatever. And they say, yo, what's going on, blah, blah, what you doing with your life? And I tell them, they just be looking like, wow, like how? You understand what I'm saying? And it's because certain circumstances drove me to do things that I should not be doing and that I didn't have to do. But it was an outlet for me to cope with something that occurred that I did not have the power to address. And I realized that in that particular lifestyle that I should not have been involved in, one testament of masculinity is your degree of aggression, not wild aggression, because when you utilize wild aggression, it causes you to violate certain street rules. It's controlled aggression, and controlled aggression is really what is feared in the street, not wild aggression. Controlled aggression is what, let me rephrase that. Controlled aggression is what's respected. Wild aggression is what's feared. And those are typically people that you got to take out. People that have controlled aggression, they know how to take that energy and showcase it without seeming like a savage, right? And I learned that from being in that type of life, but that was a display of masculinity, of showing that type of controlled aggression against any of your ops, right? Or anybody that would not want to lay down to whatever you put forth. And I realized that fighting is a byproduct of that. Shootouts is a byproduct of that. Stabbings is the byproduct of that. All of that stuff is a byproduct of people who have wild aggression, but not have obtained that controlled aggression. What still results in that is just that the way that it's carried out is much differently. And I realized from being involved in that community and seeing the people who are older than me that were doing that would tell me, yo, you don't really need to be doing this with us, blah, 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 and told me I had potential, all this other stuff I thought they were hating, whatever the case may be. I thought a way really to showcase that is really to your bravissimo is in order to showcase that that influence and affluence that you have towards others by means of subtle threats, right? Or showcases of force or power. But then I realized as I transitioned, I matured and I got older, I realized that that was weakness. As a man that is striving to operate in masculinity to its full potential, you have to have self-control. And any wise saying that you get from any culture would indicate that the source of that saying is based on discipline and self-control, which is hard. It's something I still struggle with, you know what I'm saying? And I think we all do, but it's are you willing to invest in that road and deal with the ROI when you get to the destination? Or are you going to take another route and yell, scream, curse, and show weakness when it's not warranted? It's not warranted. You don't need to raise your voice, raise your argument. Find another angle in showcasing that information, and people will respect that. They may not like it. You know why? Because they're not a reflection of that, right? But the objective is to strive to set the standard. And that is not exempting you from being human and making mistakes. What it goes to show is that you know what to place value on and what to devalue. So even when people have this energy and excuse me, I'm sorry, Moriel, bravado. Thank you for the correction. Sorry, thank you for the correction. Yo, I thought I was meticulous with stuff. This chat, man, y'all get on me all the time. I love it. I appreciate that. Shout out to Lioness Judah in the building. King Judah, what's going on? So King Judah said, is it a problem with fist fighting? Well, why are you fighting? There's not a problem with fist fighting if there's a reason. If you're defending yourself, defending your community, then if you have to do it at the expense of bodily injury in order to do so, that's fine, right? But the problem with fist fighting is not going to defeat the ultimate oppressor. A think tank that can socially engineer ideas to awaken a revolt state of mind so certain things can be carried out subliminally in order to free the people of oppression and become autonomous. That is how you win the real fight. So me personally, I don't plan to engage in a fist fight with anybody. If you threaten me and I see that your threat is warranted for me to defend myself or my family, then if I got to fight you that way, I will. If I have to draw arms to do it, I will in self-defense. But to be the offender in the case scenario, you have to question your motive. Like I said, I went to college for forensic psychology, and I learned a lot of valuable things there and creating a behavior profile for people who have precognition to commit crimes. And you have to examine several points of interest in order to determine what would cause this person to commit this act that they know lawfully and legally is unfavorable. So people will say, okay, we're going to do fist fighting, so I like to box. That's different, right? That's a sport, right? The objective of that is not to personally kill somebody. And if you have that type of energy, then you shouldn't be boxing. If you want to learn martial arts to kill somebody, you shouldn't be learning martial arts. I learned Rujifu Jiu-Jitsu. I was a black tip. Didn't get my black belt, but I was a black tip in Rujifu Jiu-Jitsu. And my sensei was a woman, interestingly enough, but she wasn't like your ordinary woman, but she taught us the craft. And the first thing she asked us, and I guess anybody who teaches martial arts will be able to confirm this, is why are you here? What are you here for? Because if you're not here to discipline your inner self, then you don't need to be learning this craft. Now, it may be different if you're learning it, if you join law enforcement or military, it's different. But outside of that, the first question she asked us was, why are you here? And people will say, oh, to defend myself, in case I get into a fight. And somebody says, oh, if I need to defend somebody else to get into a fight, or you always hear defend. And she says, if that is why you're here, then y'all need to go. People looking crazy like, what? If the only thing you want to do is defend yourself, because remember, after a period of time, if you're always on a defensive, at some point, you're going to be paranoid to the point where you're going to start going on the offensive for fear of going back onto the defensive. I play a lot of chess. Needless to say, the point that I'm saying is that if the objective of you engaging in a particular craft is not in order to allow it to discipline yourself, to allow you to mature, to get to the pinnacle of your potential, then you are wasting your time. You understand what I'm saying? You are wasting your time. Shout out to Ya'alon Ben Israel for the donation. Thank you so much, my brother. I greatly appreciate that. Yes, I am God's son. That's correct. Yeah, I got him, Chris. I got him. Kyle, man, come on, bro. That's my brother right there. So anyway, yeah, Kyle, if you can get him an Ifa reading, please do so. Otherwise, I know some Babalaw's that I could take Cube to, but Cube being a skeptic, I don't know how effective it will be. But Cube, if you want a reading, hey, just let me know. I'll hook you where you need to go, and then you can pursue that journey if it works for you. You understand what I'm saying? But outside of that, the point that I'm trying to make here is that we need to have more discussions in our community like this. I think what people try to do is that they use the scriptures and the culture as a defense mechanism to protect their vulnerable side and things that they don't want to share or be open with. And nobody's entitled to share every personal thought, idea, or part of you. But what I'm saying is you can no longer use your culture or your religion as a shield, because when you do that, that is a coward way of dealing with life's problems, dealing with life's issues. And all that's going to do is enhance a motive that is shown through intentions that is already self-defeating and adversarial to the agent that is commencing the act. All right. Dennis was like, a reading? Yeah, that's what they do in Ifa divination. You do readings, right? But that's Kyle speaking with Cube. That's another discussion, right? So anyway, let me get back on track, because I know there's a back and forth in there. Let's get back on track, right? So let me show you these articles, and let me also show you the book. Just as 2 points of reference, so that way people can understand protocol, right? Because if you don't understand protocol and how things work, of course you're going to say, Moriel, hold on, let me answer that. And it's interesting because the video that I'm going to release, I'm going to release it first for Patreon, give them exclusive, and then I'm gonna release it for public consumption, is me sitting down with Prince Awel Nwandu, right? He is an Igbo prince. And we were going over the usage of kola nut, right? What is the kola nut? What is its significance in Igbo culture? And we even went into divination in regards to the kola nut and the breaking of the kola nut. And if it breaks in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of that means something, right? And I'm gonna release that out for you, because this is stuff that you can publicly search. It's not like it's something esoteric that he shared me with just for my ears only, but this is something you can study when you get into Alpha divination in regards to Igbo culture. But it's similar to the casting of lots and how lots fall in pre-exilic Israelite times, and the discerning of how those lots fall, that you would know the response to something, the answer to something, right? How to address something, right? But let me show you up here. Hold on. I don't know what y'all talking about there now. So let me go ahead and switch over to this so we can see how this works, right? Like I said, I read this stuff all the time, man. I read this stuff all the time. Because I don't want to go out there and be talking crazy, and I don't understand, people who have a different point of view, and if I don't know their point of view, don't understand it, then I purposely will refrain from engaging them until I do, right? That's being fair. So here is the screen. Let me do this. There we go. All right. Browser screen. Okay. All right. So y'all let me know if you can see this screen, and if you can hear me, hit 1. Maybe I need to zoom in a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. There we go. That should work. All right. So hit 1 if you can see the screen. Hit 1 if you can see the screen, and then you can hear me. Hit 1. Hit 1. All right. So let me go ahead and read this, okay? So in a divination session, if you want to get this work, if you want to look at the paper, let me scroll up. All right. The paper is here. It's Ifa divination trays from Asale Oyo, by O.I. Pogo-san and A.O. Akande. All right. You can go ahead and check this out. You can also look up their credentials to see who they are. Look up their background, their biography, their credentials, their accomplishments, their papers, their works, whatever the case may be. So you can go back and check it out for yourself. All right. So let me scroll down. Let's go back to where we was at. Okay. Let's go to page 22. All right. Here we go. In a divination session, the client is asked to whisper their problem to a coin, cowrie shell, or any legal tender. He then drops it on the divination tray. The diviner, called a babalao, literally interpreted to mean father of secrets, salutes Ifa and urges Ifa, the system, to provide the appropriate answer to the client's problems without delay. He calls on Orunmila, a deity believed to have been present with Ifa at the time of creation and who is believed to know the prenatal destiny, Ayanmo, of every human being. He offers Iba salute and acknowledgement of supremacy to Ile, the earth, Oludamer, the Almighty God. The diviner also calls on ancestor diviners to witness the proceeding before he then casts the palm nuts 8 times. He marks the results of each cast on the Ayerosun, dust on the diviner's tray. The result must match one of the 256 possible Odu signs. A shorter version of casting Ifa is done by using divination chains or Pele Ifa. This tool consists of 8 seed pods or small copper alloy plates with concave or convex surfaces linked together by a metal or bead chain. The diviner holds the chain at its center point and casts it so that it falls on an already laid cloth before him to reveal a pattern of the Odu sign. On citing the revelation of the cast, the diviner recalls the associated storyline or poem revealed in the Odu sign. The client of the diviner must be attentive at this point because, look at this, the solution to the problem would be revealed in the Odu chant, in the psalm or whatever the case may be, the song, the poem, the storyline, etc. In the chants of the diviner, the party concerned hears of others who have suffered various problems, some perhaps greater than those that brought the suppliant to Ifa, and the joy they knew after performing the sacrifices that Ifa had asked them to make. At intervals, the diviner taps the divination tray with Aroke Ifa, divination tapper. The person consulting Ifa is afterwards expected to perform the prescribed sacrifices. The chants many at times end with lines revealing that after the person in Odu of Ifa had performed the required sacrifice, things became better for him. The line often runs, and we go and we have it laid out here. I don't want to slay it because it's in Yoruba. I know some words, but I'm not going to slay this by reading this, but y'all can see it on the screen. The English translation is, he took his problems to Ifa, and it should be recited in Yoruba, right? He was told to perform sacrifice, and he performed it. After he performed the sacrifice, he became a happy man. He started to sing the song of Ifa priests. Apart from the main concern of this paper, upon Ifa, which will be discussed in details later on, a number of tools and objects are involved in divination. This paper will look into a few of them. Notable other divination items include the Ifa ball, etc. So you can't just go get an 8 ball and say, I'm going to use this 8 ball in order to do the same thing that you do in Ifa. It does not work that way. When I'm casting lots, according to the ancient Pre-Exilic Israelite culture, I don't just get anything to cast these lots. You need specific items to cast these lots. And in order to know what those items are, you need archeology and you need the narrative of the literature, simply because you don't have that culture actively today. You have preservations of that culture elsewhere, but you don't have that sovereign culture that is active today. So you need 3 methods of validation. The text says, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word established. You need the archaeological record, the literary record, and a culture that has preserved these items in order to see how it can still be performed today and how to yield those results. Am I saying that this specific method here is exactly what was performed in ancient Israel? No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that the methodology of divination and the attribution of certain objects and how they use and how things are performed, you parse that out. You also create another list of that's parsed out of the Israelite culture, and you find the things that's in the active culture that is preserved, and you pull that out and you find the method in performing that same task that would be true to the ancient Pre-Exilic Israelite culture. And in doing so, see if it yields results. If it doesn't, something is wrong. If it does, then something's right. And if it's repeatable because you're meeting the prerequisites and you are utilizing a protocol, then you know that you're doing the right thing. And what I'm saying is that this has been a journey for me to get to that point where I'm at the cusp of saying, okay, let me see how repeatable this thing is if I follow this particular methodology. That's why I tell people that prayer, being a form of divination, has to be performed a particular way. Now, you can do just open free prayers, okay, and the deity may or may not respond to it, but formulaic prayers is a bit different when you understand the appeal process and you're appealing or trying to get a matter or ruling to be overturned, and you have to give a express reason why you want it to be overturned and what you will do or give in the process if that matter is overturned. But it only relates to certain things, not any and everything. It only regards certain things. So that's why I said certain people who are not in the know, it's evident based on a line of questioning that they don't know the protocols, prerequisites of divination. They don't understand that, right? And I try to be as open as I can on this channel with the audience on explaining my methodology, unless I want to reserve it for like a lecture or something like that. Then I'll tease y'all with it. Like the prayer thing, y'all really want to know, yo, Divine, how do you pray and how does a formulaic work? Once I show you, the question is, will you be willing to submit to the prerequisites and follow the protocol and understand how that process works in order to get the results? What is the reason why you're making this prayer to this deity? Why? Why are you doing this? You got to question your motive. I see your intention, but what is your motive? Because when you perform this formula, it will expose your motive, and sometimes publicly, depending upon the circumstance. So you have to be very careful with that, right? So it's something that people can do, but in order to have efficacy behind the process of performing it, there's a certain way where it must be done. And it's the same thing with casting lots as well. I have a video on casting lots, and it was just there, you know, to pretty much give people a what they call that, a base look or insight into performing lots. But it's not really the formulaic method of doing it, right? It's just to pretty much entice people to inquire if this will be something that they integrate into their life, how effective it will be, all right? So let me bring up the second book. And again, when I say I got tons of articles and books on divination, West African divination, I have tons of it. And like I said, without a living culture that has preserved halakha of your ancient culture, you're not going to really know how things work and how to get back to that ancient Pre-Exilic process. That's why I say when Israelites jump over or leapfrog over West Africa, you are shooting yourself in the foot, right? You are shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, let me bring up the second book. I don't know what you're saying in the chat. Let me take a look. All right. So Dennis McMillan put up scripture. I don't know, Dennis, is this towards me or is this towards what other people are saying in the chat? I don't know. He put up the scripture that says, there shall not that useth divination. I'm assuming this is from the King James, right? Divination or an observer of times or an enchanter or witch or necromancy. Tell me why you put that up. Oh, brother JT, are you on your daughter's laptop now? Did she show you how to do it? If so, let me know and I'll bring you on. No problem. Thank you, Chris, for putting the link there. Dennis, you're saying for me. So Dennis, are you saying that I am violating this? Please say that's what you're saying. So I can kind of like explain to you that it's not. And again, when I was debating Dennis O, it was the same thing. Shout out to the Pretty Issue. Thank you so much, sis. It's been a long time. I think years since I've spoken to you. I pray everything is well with you, sis. And hopefully this information is inspiring you to get back into these studies. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you put it down some time ago for a while. So King Judah says, can you tell us more what you know about Igbo? A lot. not only because I have Igbo associates, right? People who are actually still practicing a culture, people who are initiated in certain rites, people who are dignitaries, but also I do objective studies, right? Outside of their biased, subjective perspective to try to ascertain the halakha in it and the things that are not appreciated for what it is, but extract the halakha that's preserved in Igbo culture because it's there. Right, you just have to have a trained eye to see it, and unfortunately, academia is not doing their research based on a practitioner's perspective. And that is the problem. That's how they fall short. So virtue, people talk about halal and kosher, and we're trusting halal and kosher based on the halakha of the group that calls it kosher. So I did a lesson. Please go back and check it out, y'all. It's called The Divine Ecological Revelation of the Dietary Law and its connection to African Americans. Something like that. If you don't mind, please put that in the link, Chris, so people can check that out. And what I simply said is that there is a practical template of why this was written. And if you can extract that template, you know how to apply it wherever you at. So that way you will be the owner of what you discern to be kosher based on taking that template and using it to survey what's in your environment, whether it's food that you get from the grocery store or food that you raise for yourself, and be able to ascertain whether or not it's halal, kosher, or whatever other term that you want to designate for it. Right? So you have the power to do that once you understand the template that's there. You don't have to follow somebody else's halakha and their rulings on what is deemed clean or unclean, when you can simply get the template, and from understanding the practical application of that template, how to utilize it in your environment. All right. The link is right there. Thank you, Chris, for posting it. Please go back. All of y'all, check out that lecture. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying the content, hit the thumbs up button. Please share this video. And those who are inquiring about how to give, the information is on the screen, and or you can do a super chat like all the generous people have been doing thus far. Okay. So I want to address Dennis. Okay. Dennis, are you there? Are you willing to get on the panel, Dennis, or do you just want to chat here in the group chat? Okay, let me know what you want to do, right? Let me know what you want to do. That Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 to 11 does not apply to what I do. And let me explain to you why. Let's go to your scripture, right? Because I'm trying to bring out the other book, but I could probably do that before I hang up. But let's deal with this. And you see, Dennis is my brother. He's cool peoples, right? But unfortunately, he has a misunderstanding of what I'm saying. And it's very simple to explain why. All right. So let's look at this. Let me look at this. You said Deuteronomy 18, 10 to 11, right? Let's pull that out. All right. Deuteronomy 18. And we're going to go to 10 to 11. All right. And it says here, now watch this. Look at this, family. See, my brother Dennis, you missed the context because you should have really put verse 9. Okay. So let me read it from verse 9. All right. And I'm going to read it from the ESV. Okay. And people say, well, why do you use ESV? Because it's academically sound. All right. And it's based off of the BHS. Okay. Those of you who know about language and documentation, the Biblica Hebraica Statutensia is the academic document that has been sourced from the Leningrad Codex in order for them to properly translate what you're reading in the critical edition Bibles today. All right. So let's go ahead and get this right. Deuteronomy chapter 18. Let's start at verse 9. When you come into the land that Yahu Eloheka is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those nations. There shall not be found among you. Now that right there already gives context. Let's keep going. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, which I'm not doing. Last time I checked, my children are still here. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortune or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead, for whoever does these things is an abomination to Yahu. And because of these abominations, Yahu Eloheka is driving them out before you. So let's understand the context. They were told not to follow, not to imitate, not to take on the practices of the other nations. If I'm reconstructing for you a means of divination to Yod He Wav that is prescriptional in the text, That is not in violation. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 to 11. 9 to 12. You tell me how casting lots before Yah is a violation. I'll wait. I'll wait on that. Tell me how that's a violation. I'll wait on that. I'll wait on that. Let me know, Dennis. I'll wait for you. Just let me know. Just let me know. Okay, so Dennis said it's not. Okay, so that's one. If I pour a libation out to Yod Hey Wav, please tell me how pouring that libation goes against Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 to 12. I'll wait. Just let me know. I'll wait. Just let me know. Yeah, I'll wait. Just let me know. I'll wait. Just let me know. I'll wait. Let me know when you're ready. I'll mute myself. So he says it's not. All right. So if pouring libation, casting lots, formulaic prayer to the deity, please show me where formulaic prayer towards the deity to properly place my appeal once I motion. Please show me where that is in violation of Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 to 12. Just let me know. I'll wait. So you're saying that none of those things that I just said are in violation to that. Now, when have I ever told anybody to offer their child as an offering unto a deity? If I've done that, please let me know where. Please give me the video and the timestamp of when I've done that, and I'll wait. Just let me know. Lorraine says that he's referring to readings. Well, I'm not performing the readings that I had mentioned earlier. I'm not performing those readings. So therefore, because I'm not performing those readings the way that those readings prescribe it to be done outside of the ancient Israelite culture, how am what I'm telling y'all is in violation of Deuteronomy 18, verses 9 to 12? Just let me know. I mean, I'm not teaching for people to do that. There was a side discussion that was occurring in the chat, and I made a reference to that side discussion, and they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do from there. I'm trying to figure out what did I say that is in violation of, if something that I said particularly is in violation of Deuteronomy 18, verses 9 to 12, please put it in the chat, because I want to make sure I address your concern. Right, whatever the grievance is, I want to make sure that I aptly address it for you. All right, I'll wait. All right, and please, y'all, let's keep the focus on what we're talking about right now. Okay. So Dwayne Yosef said it's okay to get readings. If you profess to be an Israelite, there's no need for you to go get a reading. I mean, if you choose to do that, that's on you. But there's other means of divination that you can perform within Israelite culture that exempts you for having to go outside of that to get a reading. The problem is people just don't know how to do it. And because they don't know how to do it, they're thrown off. Oh, Moriel Fall. Yeah, what I was simply doing was I was showing you in another culture what Ifa divination is, how it's performed, right? And the reason why I was showing that, really, that was for outside the cube. Because I mentioned earlier, I have not written extensively on this subject matter that I have published papers that have been peer reviewed that I can reference it to you guys, nor have I found anybody in our community that have created such papers. So the only thing that I simply can do is give you a published work in the public domain that openly explains a process of divination to showcase for you that some elements of that, when parsed out correctly, apply to how it was done in ancient pre-Exilic Israelite culture. That's simply what I'm saying. And remember, I said that there's parts of it that differ. I said all of this as a prerequisite. When you cast lots, that is a form of divination. That is you getting an answer for an inquiry that you make, which can also be called a reading, but is according to the cultural constraints that you subscribe to. It's not going outside of that. I don't understand. See, I think the issue is mostly because our presuppositional vantage point of what Israelite culture is. We've been removed from it. We've removed from it. Now, Dwayne said these waters are getting real murky. Okay. So, Dwayne, my brother, tell me, what am I saying that is making things murky? Please let me know. Let me know what the grievance is so I can address it. Because if y'all have not seen the discussion or debate that I had with the brother Dennis O, please, my admin, put that link in the chat. Y'all can go back and revisit it because he has some of the same concerns that y'all are conveying right now, which is fine. We're not telling people not to keep the statute, laws, and commandments. That is the foundation. But there are other customs that enhance the statute, laws, and commandments. That enhances those statute, laws, and commandments. And these are customary things that our ancestors were doing in their sovereign state, where they didn't have, the type of issues that we deal with today. And they were able to do things in a pristine environment before political state issues got involved, where certain changes had to be made, right? Because if I show you in the text that libations is performed, not just by the priest, but by the layman, then what do you say to that? Are you saying we don't need to do that today? Okay, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Casting lots. If I could show you that casting lots is performed by people outside of the priest and was even done by the apostles. Did I say that? Acts chapter 1. What I'm simply saying is, what about that is wrong? I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. Cube, he posted the link. But if you email me, I'll send it to you as well. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. I've lectured on it briefly, but I've never done a lecture specifically on that yet. To then write a paper to then get published and peer reviewed. I haven't done that yet. But the problem is, it's difficult because there's not a lot of people in our community that's on the same wavelength. So it makes it a little bit difficult. All right. Oh, you want to call on the phone? Let me see. How about, I'm not gonna say a phone. Do you have Facebook? If you have Facebook, I could put you through on Facebook Messenger. So Cube, that is scattered in various published books by people who are non-practitioners, but none was really written objectively from a practitioner's perspective. So Mario said, did Yah, so God did specifically command casting lots there. So you want me to give you a scriptural reference to casting lots outside of Leviticus 16, Moriel, or are you just making a point? If so, let me go ahead and give that for you. I'll get it for you. All right. Let's go to Proverbs 18 and 18. And I'm going to read it for you in the ESV. The lots put an end to quarrels and decides between powerful contenders. Let me read in another translation, not going to the Hebrew. Casting the lot ends quarrels and separates powerful opponents. Casting lots causes contentions to cease and keeps the mighty apart. This is from Proverbs. So it gives you the practice, it gives you the motive, it gives you the end results of this practice. Mid yanim yasbit hagoral uben asumim yaprid. So this is specifically telling you that contention stop when you cast lots, and it keeps the mighty from going at each other. If you want another scripture, let me give it to you. Proverbs 16:33. The lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from Yod He Wafe. That's Proverbs 16:33. So I'm not understanding. Are you saying that this needs to be taken out of Proverbs and we should not deal with it anymore? Is that what you're saying? I need to understand that. So I saw the cube. I see what you're saying, and it can be shown because I've demonstrated it by using sources. But like I said, I would probably have to be the one to write the paper on it because nobody in my community is going to do that. So, until I lecture fully on it, where I can bring all the sources out, and until I write the paper, it may be difficult for you to see everything that I'm trying to convey because there's no real point of reference outside of what the sources that I'm sharing, which again, like I said, it's not from a practitioner's perspective. All right. So, Dwayne, what is the contention then? What is the contention, my brother? Jews really don't write on this practice because they're not practitioners of this pre-Exilic Israelite customs. They don't perform this. They don't do these things today. See, that's what makes them distinct, because some would say that's the minhag. And because it's the minhag of the text, they'll say, well, it doesn't apply to us today. And they'll refrain from performing it. They don't do that today. Yoel, that's another discussion, right? But yes. But Dwayne, what is the concern, Dwayne? What's the concern? I'm trying to facts, Moriel. But Dwayne, what is the concern? What is the contention then? If there is one, what is the contention? I'm trying to find out what it is that I'm saying that's not rooted in scripture and cannot be demonstrated in archaeology. People may feel a certain kind of way when I do the third witness, which is a culture that preserves these practices, that you can do a cross-cultural analysis and pair up with what was done in ancient Israel. But if that is sketchy for some people, then when I go to scriptures and I show you archaeology, I'm trying to figure out what is the issue. So he says, it seems that you are connecting African spirituality to Israel, regardless of what we see in the Torah. So what I'm trying to simply say to you is this. What am I saying to you right now on the course of this discussion that goes against what we see in Torah? It has yet to be, the question begs, it has yet to be addressed. Because I see Israelite culture as an African spiritual system. I see it that way, right? It is an African spiritual system. It's not the same because all African spiritual system has distinctions. There's different oral traditions, right? There's different subclans within them that performs things that are different, right? So I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm saying that it is a culture that has preserved. Okay, let's take it like this. And I'm gonna say this just to pique interest before I actually do a debate and reveal my information first, or I submit this paper to ISSAJ to get peer reviewed and published. Either one, because they have upcoming books that I want that paper in, right? I will say this. If anybody here has I agree, Dwayne. So we in agreement. I don't even know why I'm about to say what I'm about to say. You know what I'm saying? But let's look at this. People in this chat who believe that they're Hebrew Israelites or subscribe to being Israelite, whatever. Here's my question to you. Okay. A lot of people in our community say, and I'm not pointing fingers because I don't want to make anybody feel estranged, right? But you hear people in our community say that, oh, they took our people off the west coast of Africa and they brought us over here to the Americas and we're scattered and we're here, right? So I simply say to them, did they take all of our people off of the west coast of Africa and bring them over here to the Americas? That would be a question. I need you to answer that. Because if you say no, then I will ask you, who are those people today? Where are they at? And how do you know that those are the same people? Don't give me no video of somebody who converted to Second Temple Judaism and is doing those Jewish practices. That's not proper. And I did a whole lecture on this on Halakha. I explained all of this, right? What I'm saying is the arguments become weak if you're unable to find your preserved Israelite culture in West Africa, because the claim is that when we were brought over here, we lost our culture and we're just now waking up to our culture. I would say that is false. I would say our culture still followed us, but we could not openly practice it. And because of colonialism, and the way that African Americans or Africans in the diaspora or Israelites here in Americas were treated, it was very difficult for us to maintain some of these practices over time because of the way certain other religions were placed upon us or introduced to us, etc., etc. So if you cannot show me your preserved Israelite culture and the place that you say that Israelites went and been there for hundreds of years, we have a problem. Because now we got to go back and reevaluate your understanding of Israelites migrating from Israel into West Africa and over here to Americas. Now we must reevaluate that. And what I'm simply trying to show you is the remnants of the culture preserved. And I'm showing you how that aligns with the ancient pre-exilic Israelite culture. And this is what I'm saying. And thank you, Lioness Judah. She said, we've been westernized so long, very difficult to take in Torah with original culture. Thank you. The Jews that people say, oh, these are the white Jews, they're the fake Jews. You know what makes them powerful? Not them claiming to be Jews. They're halakha that we don't have. That's why when you see certain weird customs, like when they get the chicken and turn the chicken around, when you see certain things like that, you don't understand that because you don't know why they're doing it, because you're not reading what their halakha is behind that. You don't see that in Torah, but there's a reason why they do that. And by doing these practices, these customs, it allows them to prosper. It allows them to fully be influential. But yet you say we're the salt of the earth. You say we're the light unto the Gentiles. But yet I don't see nothing that we are restoring that can have the nations come back and expect it to say, yo, that is the example right there. What are we doing to showcase that? We don't even have autonomy. We don't even have think tanks. Y'all don't even want to have think tank discussions. So it makes this even more painful, right? But I'm willing to suffer with my people. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to suffer my people. And like I said, some things that I say, I'm not telling people they have to do. I'm simply trying to give you the understanding behind it and showing that if you're going to be autonomous over your own culture, there has to be things in it that is distinct and succinct, that when another nation looks at it, they can say, wow. Let me give you an example. The brothers that go around here and wear fringes, and I know I got some shirts that have fringes like that too, that is a form of halakha. From my research, I have yet to see anybody in that community wear fringes the way it's supposed to be worn. Even myself, I need to start doing it. And I'm glad I'm saying this to remind myself to start doing it. But they don't even understand tassels, fringes, how it's supposed to look. But the way they perform it is their halakha, their implicit carrying out of what is suggested, hinted at, or spoken about in black and white. How do you carry that out today? The way you wear fringes is that. When people talk about women wrapping their head, it's the same thing. You're performing a form of halakha. That is exactly what you're doing. So Yoel said, what is it supposed to look like? Matter of fact, I preserved a picture. Glad you asked that. I'm gonna show it to you. Shout out to AOC. Look at AOC. Shout out to AOC because AOC, I don't even think they realized it, but they have exactly what it's supposed to look like on the border of our garments. And I'm gonna show it to you in 1 second. Hold on. I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna show it to you right now. I took a screenshot of it. Let me see if I could find it now. Oh, here it is. All right, and I hope AOC don't mind me sharing. As a matter of fact, I'll share it without their faces so y'all can see on my phone. All right, let me make sure you can see what I'm showing y'all. All right, you see this on my screen? You see this? You see that intertwining of gold, blue, and red across and how it drapes down or blossoms at the end? This is what it's supposed to look like. And you're going to say, well, how do you know that, Divine? How do you know that this is really how what you should be wearing should look like? I'm glad you asked that question. Let me go ahead and give you an answer. Let me give you an answer. And when you study archeology and you understand the beautification of certain temples, you understand how certain things are utilized and draped. Let me show it to you. I'm gonna give you the answer to that. And then I'm about to wrap up because it's getting really late. All right. Correct, Moriel, but nobody, I mean, when people say it's 613, that itself is even off because somebody coined that phrase. Okay, they looked at something and they decided we're going to codify it this way and explain it as 613. That's another discussion. But let me show it to y'all. Let's get scripture because you're gonna be, oh, you off because you ain't going to the scripture. I mean, everything that I'm telling y'all, I'm getting from the scriptures. You know, I don't see not one thing that I've said that's not coming from the scriptures. But let me get it. Let me get it for my family, right? Because I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. So I got y'all. Hold on 1 second. Let's get it. All right. Let me pull it up here. Okay. Let's bring it up here. Let me bring it up here. Hold on 1 second. I'm grabbing it for y'all. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 17. 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 17. I'm going to let y'all get it. All right. And again, I'm not saying you are wrong, however you wear fringes. I'm saying you're simply practicing halakha and you're not even aware of it. Okay. 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 17. And it says, hold on, let me grab it. I'm sorry about that, y'all. My daughter is up, so I'm going to wrap this up. But let me touch on this, and I'm gonna show you the final reference, and then I'm gonna end off, right? But 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 17, and it reads. Let me pull it up here. Let's get the ESV. It reads, there were lattices of checker work with wreaths of chain work for the capitals on top of the pillars, a lattice for the one capital and a lattice for the other capital. You're going to say, what the heck does that have to do with fringes? Well, when you get Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 12, okay, our word gedil is there, okay? Your gedilim, which is masculine plural, gedilim, tassels you shall make ta'aseh to you on the four corners of the clothing with which to cover yourself. Now, making of these tassels is going to look the same way that those garlands, that wreath looks between two pillars in ancient way of masonry and constructing things. When you beautify things, it's a form of beautification, right? That they put these chain work garlands or these wreaths that they intertwine and let it drape down on the sides. Let me give you an image of what it is that I'm talking about so you can understand this. And again, when you study archaeology that deals with these type of structures, it explains this for y'all. Thank you so much, Maria, for understanding that. I appreciate that. But yeah, let me end off. Let me show you this real quick. So I'm gonna bring it up for you. Another word for it is a festoon. Look up a festoon. And when you look up a festoon, I'm gonna show you exactly what it looks like. Hold on. This is excellent right here. Let me show you what this looks like. How can I show it here? Okay, I'll just create another scene. Hold on. Let me show it to y'all real quick. Let me show you what it looks like. It is, here it is right here. Let me see if it comes up big enough. Oh, it's really small. So it's going to be a little bit stretched out, but I'm going to show it to y'all. All right. Let me add Mike to that. All right. So if you're looking at my screen, this right here is a festoon. This right here is a interlocking wreath. And this is what the fringes are supposed to replicate, be replicative of on your garment. It's supposed to replicate this. That's simply what it is. Go back and look up any kind of ancient architecture in regards to the beautifying pillar-based structures. Okay? Check that out. All right? All right. So come on, family. Let's stay focused, man. Let's stay focused. Let's stay focused. All right. Thank you so much, Kwame Yasharala. I appreciate that. Because like I said, I know a lot of y'all may not understand everything that I'm saying, even though I've shown y'all that it's rooted in the scriptures, even though I show you it's rooted in Iron Age, Israelite 1, 2, A, B, and C sites. Even though I'm showing you a culture that's preserved, that Torah that we practice, but other things are also shown there as well because of what happened over time and amalgamation and acculturation and inculturation, cultural diffusion, etc. I'm simply trying to get you guys to reconstruct so you can restore a unique cultural identity that when the nations see it, they'll say, there's something really different about that. And that is simply what I'm trying to help the community with. That's all. Because with this, the three tenets that you see at the top, culture, community, autonomy, we have to restore a culture that is ours, that we own, and then take those cultural elements, the ethics and morals of it, push it into a community so we can restructure the foundation of our community that is in shackles, that's in perils, and then teach the community the purpose of all of this is to be able to be self-governing so we can rely on each other for whatever that we need. And this degree of independence will liberate us from the grasp of oppression. It's that simple. By doing this, you will be a standout, set apart group. So that way, if you're looking at it from an eschatological perspective, when the Most High returns and reestablishes the kingdom and rains judgment on the nations, your umbilical cord to the other nations will be severed. And nothing will befall you because you're working with your people. So you're all going to be on the same page. Like I said, when our people don't have an end state, then a lot of this information throws us off because they have not established an end state. Think tanks engineer this from point A to Z. They look at point Z and see this is the end state, but we're at point B. So how do we socially engineer the community from point B to get them to point C? What can you slowly release to them so that way they can start picking up, they can follow the guidelines on the route to get to this point. So that way, when they are distinguished, now they can find a way to really form a community and to really establish autonomy. This is why every other ethnic bloc is beating us to the punch, because we don't know the rules of the game. How we embodying the character of the patron deity that we subscribe to when these instructions have also been given to individuals in the text that we today are not performing? Do you understand what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all are understanding that. Okay, hopefully y'all are understanding that. All right. So let me go into this last book, and I'm gonna stop here, right? I'm gonna stop here because again, this is a very interesting discussion you're having in the chat. I just wanted us to focus on what I was speaking about, and just be able to relax a bit off of the zealousness, right? Because I'm not attacking anybody's foundational convictions, right? I'm simply trying to complement it with insight that has been overlooked, that once it's implemented, it will strengthen that position, right? And then you can have dialogues without the fear of being in the gray area in a discussion. You understand what I'm saying? So hopefully this works. Because like I said, I validate everything that I say with the scripture. I don't know what more anybody wants from me. Like if you want more scriptural validation for anything that I said, just let me know and I will show it to you. If what I've shown is not enough. If you want me to show you more archaeology to validate that, I will give it to you. If you want me to show you in a living culture that's today, that's preserved these things, I will show it to you. But I think because we have so much fear, we are so taboo, it has restricted and constrained us from the liberty that we have in our culture. And all I'm showing you is what the text is saying and how to carry it out today, how to identify it today. I just don't understand, why this is being perceived as something that it's not. I don't understand. Thank you so much, Lioness Judah. I appreciate that. So I'm grateful to those who are getting it, and I'm appreciative of those who are not getting it, because all that will challenge me to do is find other means of conveying it. It's not gonna work for everybody. It's not gonna fit for everybody. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to proselytize and convert you. That's not my objective. That's simply not my objective. I'm simply trying to help restore what was lost so we can obtain autonomy. Because let me explain this to you. Maybe I can end off with this. Let me bring up the book while I'm discussing it. Okay, let me get rid of this. Let me bring up my book real quick. Hold on. Let me get the book real quick. One of my favorite books to read in regards to the subject matter, right? Here it is. All right. Let me zoom in. All right. Hold on. There we go. Okay. All right. So, let me send to live. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna say this while this is up, and I'm gonna show this to you. All right. Let me say this, okay? So what I was simply trying to explain is that if you have to go back to sources outside of your community to continuously validate what you do, you have not achieved cultural autonomy. This is why the things that I'm saying, the things that I lecture on, the things that I will be forced to write, unless there's a writer out there, and this is something that I'm looking to source. If there's somebody out there that is good with writing academic papers, which I can do, I just don't have the passion to do it. If anybody out there is an author that loves to write books or that knows how to write academic papers, please email me at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com, and I will pay you to help me put this thing down in book and paper format. I've written 4 papers on various things of the stuff that I teach. And 2 of them are published. One is in a magazine, one is in a book. But the other 2 I have yet to release because it's supposed to be done on a much broader scale, a larger scale, again, in a conference or part of an organization, etc. But if you cannot, like, and I'm glad Cube was there. If you cannot point, and this is, I'm showing the issue. I can't point to any author or anybody academic in my community. Is a few of them out there that I know of, not many, that have written expressly on ancient pre-Exilic Israelite culture, its reconstruction, its restoration, and its application. And from a practitioner's perspective, I can't point to nobody that's done that. This is an area that required a great degree of sacrifice, innovation, in order to engineer a cultural autonomous path that we can own. And when people examine us, they'll say, wow, they understand this thing, they're writing about that, and they're practicing and living it. They're disconnecting themselves from their reliance on our material, our goods, our services, our products. Because what they are binding themselves to is a unique perspective that we cannot compare to any other group. If people can show that you have similarities with Jews and Christians and Muslims, then how much progress have you really made? And I'm not knocking nobody. I'm simply trying to give you an answer for why I'm presenting the data that I'm sending to you. Okay? So, like I said, if anybody's out there that wants to assist, the email is in the chat. Definitely hit me up. If you're watching this, you're new, hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying the content, hit the thumbs up. And I see there's less thumbs up here. 2 people thumbs down this. You know what I'm saying? But there's less thumbs up than the amount of people that was watching. So maybe y'all not liking it or appreciating it. And if not, that's fine. But if you are, hit the thumbs up. Share this video if you don't mind sharing the video. And if you want to give to assist with more R&D and or services to go out to the community, you have the means of doing so via super chat and or that's posted on the screen. But let me get into this real quick. I'm gonna get into this book real quick because I want y'all to see this. All right. By hearing by, no, I don't require that. I don't require that. If you know that, if you have the skill, then I'm willing to source you and I'm willing to pay you for assistance, right? Because when people like Cube come into the chat and ask those questions, we'll have something to respond with to say, hey, look, we have it written down, peer reviewed here. We have it published with this company here. I just need some assistance and we can get it done. All right. So, correct. In Ace, not only did they try to compete, they did compete, but they lost because snake divination and or the usage of snakes was something that was highly regarded in ancient Kemet, right? So it would be nothing for a snake charmer to be able to turn something into a snake because we have reliefs and we also have papyri that speak about these things in ancient Kemet, okay? He says, y'all Negroes believe in magic and sorcery. I don't know if you're talking to me or whoever's in the chat. That's between y'all in the chat. Hopefully y'all again will redirect your focus and attention to what I have on the screen so I can wrap this up. All right. Thank you, Ace. He said perspective is the point being made. That's all. Exactly. King Judah, email me, kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. Definitely email me. And let me end off because I've been on here, I feel, for too long. And again, like I said, I don't even think I was intending to even go this route, right? I know Brother Jay is gone. he had said, oh, he wanted to join him. Next live, I'll bring you in, Brother Jay. Tune back in because you know you love this channel. You hear all the time. So I'll see you at next live, and I'll send you the link. In the interim, practice. Okay, look up Go Lightstream Studio and see how to join sessions. Hopefully that will help. Okay. Shout out to my brother Gartrell McKinney for the donation. Thank you so much. Yes, it's about perspective, and everything that I'm telling you is things that are embedded in Israelite culture that the scriptures is validating. Show me how the scriptures is invalidating anything that I am sharing with you guys. Please, if you can do that, I'm humble enough to say, you know what? Let me stop speaking on this and let me re-examine it. But yet no one has shown that. No one has shown that, right? So let's get back to this book here, which I think is an excellent book. I think everybody should have this in their repertoire. But let's go back to this book, right? Family and Household Religion in Ancient Israel and the Levant by Raina Alberts and Rudiger Schmidt. Okay. Now, this is what I want to show you. All right. This is what I want to show you. Okay. Look at this on the screen. Okay. Look at this. 3 says elements of domestic cult in ancient Israel. Don't be thrown off by that word domestic cult. There is a reason why it's termed that way. Okay. You can look up what the word cult is, because the word cult is in culture, and domestic, you can look that word up if you don't already know. But watch this. It goes into methodology, diagnostic objects and cult patterns, domestic cultic assemblages in Iron Age Judah and Israel, patterns of domestic cult activities in Iron Age Israel and Judah, comparative data from sites outside Israel and Judah. Then it goes on to the typology of Iron Age cult places. Then here, part 6 says rites of family and household religion. Rites and rituals associated with the cycle of human life, rites, rituals, and observances set by the calendar, occasional rituals, taboos, and other observances, family rites and rituals, and their significance for the symbolic system of the family. Did you know, and I don't know if y'all have studied this, but did you know that the purpose of the culture was to strengthen the family first, before it was used by the state to strengthen the nation? Wow. That's deep. That's deep. But what I would do, because I'm suffice it, I don't want to go through all these pages right now, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screenshot a few of these pages and I'm gonna go over it in the next live if y'all want to see it. And I'm gonna show you how this lines up with the scriptural narrative, how these archaeological findings and interpretation of the findings lines up or harmonizes with what we call Torah. Because people would say, oh man, they were off when they was doing that. So you're telling me that we have no evidence of any Israelites in archaeology living in Iron Age 1, Iron Age 2 Israelite sites that was doing anything righteous? Are you telling me that? If that's the case, how can you even trust the text that was being given to you? How can you trust it? If you're saying everybody was off, how can you trust the text that you have today? Because that's one of the things that Dennis said to me, that they were going off when they was doing that. So if everybody was going off, because we see common things at all of these Iron Age Israelite sites that we also see quoted in the scriptures, when you go and excavate there, you see a lot of similarities. Are you saying that nobody in Israel was doing what was right? Everybody was doing what was wrong? How can you trust the text that you got today? If you examine the 3 major things that the documentary hypothesis was one as many theories or hypothesis addresses with difficulties from the stylistic differences, doublets, etc., that you see in the text, which helps to predate the text to the 10th century, 9th, 10th century BCE. This is interesting because if you're saying what I'm showing you is off, and the people who lived at that time were responsible for putting the text together in the format that you have today, I'm simply telling you, if you're telling me that they're all off, you cannot trust the text you have today. Get rid of it. Unless you're going to be like Joseph Smith, you're going to have an angel come to you and bring it to you. Unless you're going to be like Muhammad, peace be upon him, and have the angel Gabriel come to you and reveal to you the revelation. Unless you're going to have some kind of messenger intervention that's going to drop in your lap, how everything was at that time, because everybody during that time who were responsible, remember the culture predated the text, who were living at that time, if you're saying they were all off, then the only way that we can get something that's authentic would be if one of y'all get an angel revelation and can prove through miracles, signs, and wonders that what you have from that angel revelation is really the word of the Most High. Do you see how you crumble the foundation from under your feet simply because the dogma is hindering you from understanding the context in which I'm presenting the data, I'm not sure if all of us is grasping. I know there's some out there that are grasping, and I'm not doing this for any ill intentions. I'm trying to get you to understand that the only way that you can have any breathing room, shout out to my brother Brian Gaither, in captivity is through cultural autonomy. If you want a scriptural precept for that, Jeremiah chapter 29. Simple. Okay. I think I'm gonna wrap up here. Torah is dogma. That's not true. Torah is not dogma. What people do with Torah turns it into dogma, because by definition, dogma can only be put forth by an established organization such as a church that is put forth as something that's incontrovertibly true, and the intent is so that others can accept it without questioning. How is Torah dogma? Torah is extremely practical knowledge, applied practical knowledge. But in order for the deity to sanction this in the community of people who have not been independent for a long period of time, who just won the independence, there are certain things that had to be introduced into these instructions to keep them from veering off. It's the same way in America. You could say America is dogmatic, right? Because your privacy has been compromised. I work in IT security. I deal with ransomware, adware, worms, backdoor vulnerabilities. I work with all of these things. This is what I do. So in identifying these vulnerabilities and find a way to patch it, to remediate it, that's what we call, it's a form of remediation. I understand that because these things exist, right, you have to put certain protocols in place to protect the system. And therefore, when we as administrators of IT security, we have to, through group policy, lock certain things down so that the user is not exposed to the security vulnerabilities that can compromise sensitive company data. You're going to be like, what does that have to do with anything? The system is the culture. The culture has liberty if the culture applies the practical knowledge that is passed down from generation to generation, but also embedded in a culture that identifies oppressive systems that is around it. It must enforce a group policy that everybody can adhere to, and also give penalties when it's broken, in order to maintain the liberty to live in that culture and be able to have the freedom to pass it down to the next successive generation. I'm going to stop there. Because y'all are really making me go in on this. I'm going to stop there. All right. I want to thank y'all for checking out this live stream. If y'all enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up. Thank you to everybody that donated. Thank you also to my newly pledged Patreon subscribers for KHM. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for everybody else that's in the chat that has contributed to the ongoing discussion in the chat. I appreciate all of y'all as well. I look forward to seeing y'all again next week, Friday, when we do our Freestyle Friday. Next Saturday, I will be speaking out here in HCA in Atlanta. The subject matter, it's interesting that I was asked to speak on this prematurely before my official lecture, is the association between Yod Hey Vav Hey and El Elyon, right? Or even El Shaddai. So what I will be speaking is, are these two distinct deities, or are they one and the same? And if they are one and the same, how do you harmonize the passages that that seem to contradict the notion that they're one and the same? How do you harmonize it? So I'm gonna try to be able to formulate it and then expound on the results from my research and studies, to get the community to understand that you can harmonize it, but you cannot do so without first addressing the difficulties, because there's a lot of difficulties there that you have to account for. And I want to simply try to give our community enough information so that way they can pose an argument to defend, to say, well, when we're reading the text, it's the same entity. But how so and why? Why did El Shaddai lose influence in the region of Canaan that this deity didn't have to outsource the Yod Hey Wav Hey moniker in order to wage a war to reestablish itself, and then epics are written in the Psalms about this battle? This is deep. This is really deep. I'm gonna try to keep it as simplistic as possible. I promise I'm gonna keep it to 30 slides. I promise, because I don't want it to eat into my future lecture. But all I'm simply trying to do is make sense out of this extensive amount of data so we can be culturally autonomous, and then we can truly be a light unto the nations and be a Kodesh people. So when, those of us that subscribe to the kingdom returning, in what shape, form, that's another discussion, here on earth, that we will not be afflicted by the judgments that's going to occur politically, that's going to occur economically, etc., because we are relying on each other and we have obtained autonomy. This is something that we don't have in our community, and this is something that Torah teaches us. How much so that we should be teachers of this knowledge by eating the meat of this information, that now we have need for one to give us milk. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all should know I'm not here to degrade, to disrespect, to do any of these things towards my people, to my community. You just have to understand that dealing with dogma is difficult. And when I say dogma, I'm not talking about Torah. I'm talking about the way a lot of these fundamentals are applied by a religious institution. Okay. So with that said, family, thank y'all for listening. At the very least, I'm not telling y'all have to agree. Investigate everything that I say thoroughly. And hopefully once you do that, you'll see that I'm making somewhat of a valid point, and I'll be able to see y'all here again next week. All right. So again, family, thank you for watching. Shout out to Lamont Williams, Hallelujah, Hebrew Muscle, Stacks, and as well, family, I don't know nowhere else in YouTube land from our community where this is being put forth. At least appreciate that this discussion is happening. At the very least, appreciate that the discussion is happening. Shout out to my brother Get Wise for the donation. Thank you so much, my brother. Salute. I tip my hat off to you as well. Thank you for your sacrifice and your investment, right? But it's not happening in the community, right? It's simply not happening. And this is why we will buckle under the scrutiny of academia and or other study communities, because we don't want to engage in this information, right? So at least let it be a conversation starter or an icebreaker that you can have with family, friends, or whatever. Even if you disagree vehemently towards the information, at least examine it so you can prove why you feel that this knowledge should not be out there or disseminated into the community. All right, bring that back to me. And like I said, if I am wrong, I will humble myself publicly and say, look, I'm a refrain from that. This brother shared this with me. I re-examined. That's how I got on the path that I'm on today. It took me having to correct myself via stuff that other people would teach or show me to get to where I'm at today. I didn't have no angel from heaven come and teach me this stuff. It's a progression. It's development. It's having your anchor set and being able to see which way the waves are coming. What's the best direction in order to go and reach your destination? How you're supposed to set your sails, right? Using the nautical twilight to utilize the celestial realm, which is your stars, in order to navigate, right? Being able to refresh and restock. Simply, I'm rooted in Torah and the identity behind Torah. And with that, now I can look at other things so I can go back and strengthen that position and also argue against it. Because if you have not practiced arguing against your own position, when it is challenged, you may fail in protecting it or supporting it, right? So with that, family, I love y'all. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ronnie Frednick. If you want any last minute shout outs, hit 2. Last minute shout outs, hit 2. Make sure you share this video everywhere. Even if you dislike it, hit the thumbs down button. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's fine. Even if y'all want to talk about the stuff that I'm saying and say Divine is going off, I'm okay with that. If y'all want to say, look, Divine is onto something, let's examine it, fine. But I need y'all to help me formulate a think tank so we can socially engineer our people to return back to a restored form of Torah that is intended for them by the Creator, that will make us distinct and actually be able to fulfill the things that our forefathers weren't unable to fulfill. We have the capability of doing it today, but the willingness is not there for some of us because we've been plagued and bogged down by dogma. All right. So if you want to shout out, hit one. If you want to shout out, hit one. Before I sign off, shout out to Ebony Knowledge in the building, Stacks 2296. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Donovan and Yahoo, Yashar L, Costco. Shalom to you as well. NXVX, what's going on? Do see. Appreciate that. My brother Jashub Issachar in the building. What's going on, my brother? Let me see. I think I got everybody. If I miss you, hit one. I'll give you a last minute shout out. My brother Quincy Claiborne. What's going on? I think that's everybody. Unless you want a shout out, hit one. Terrence McWilliams. I gave you a shout out earlier, but if you want another one, that's fine. Do see, Get Wise. Lamont Williams, hallelujah, said how to donate, brother. Just simply look on the screen. If you look on the screen over to my right, which is right here, which is really my left, but because of the optics, but over to the right, you'll see there's various methods in which you can donate. You can either pledge to be a Patreon subscriber. You can give via GoFundMe, PayPal, or Cash App. It's all on the screen right here, my brother. All right. And I have people inboxing me saying, oh, I don't want to, just mess up the flow by asking how to donate. But here's how you guys can donate over here. All right. And I just simply need your encouragement, your edification. If you have information, share it with me. Right. If you have a thought or an idea about something, share it with me. I'm willing to be the representative that I can be for our community. Not saying I'm going to be the perfect representative or I represent everybody, but diplomatically, as a think tank, I want to be able to best represent the interests of our community and the collective knowledge that we have in our data bank, and be able to articulate this to opposing sides. So that way, in that argumentation, we can awaken some, right? Even if it's one or two. Okay. So shout out to Virtue. Thank you for the shout out as well. I appreciate that. And I think that's it. So thank you, family, for watching. I apologize for the lengthiness of the discussion. I really was not intending to stay on this long. I'm actually tired. Want to take care of myself and my household and whatever else is going on. But I took a moment just to share this because this turned out to be a much more deeper dialogue than I intended. And I'm glad it happened because even if it's to shake some of our people up to reevaluate where they stand, then I have succeeded, right? And I just pray that the Most High is in agreement with what I conveyed to you on this evening, okay, or early morning. All right, so much love to you, family. Thank you for watching, and I'll definitely see you all again. Peace.